Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah.
How would you like Josh Rosen as your quarterback?
Or A.J. McCarron.
Oh my God. Or A.J. McCarron.
Breaking news to start the show. A.J. McCarron, Josh Rosen working out for the Browns. Happy Thursday, people.
There you go. McCarron makes sense. He's at least, I mean, I'd take McCarron over Rosen. But listen, Rosen's Jewish.
Policies.
He's the only Jewish quarterback in the NFL. Let's get him in the fold. Come on now.
Jason, what's your reaction when you hear that they're working those two guys out? That they're working anybody out tells you?
It's no surprise.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so they're looking for competition, or they're looking for somebody to be a backup in case anything happens to Jacoby. This is if it's a short-term suspension, right?
Sure.
Like, there's not much out there. It's July. It's the end of July.
Mike Glennon's probably the best guy.
And I mean, it's worth at least noting that
That's all that's left.
They're looking at A.J. McCarron and Josh Rosen, and you're groaning at Mike Lennon. What's the difference?
Well,
Lennon's in the same neighborhood as those guys.
I will point out.
I will point out.
They had Jake Fromm in camp at one of the OTAs throwing. That's another name that I would at least keep somewhat circled. He was not good last year with the Giants.
Yeah.
Obviously, big career at Georgia. Listen, if it's just a few weeks that Deshaun's going to be suspended, you can piecemeal this together. This is an insurance policy. Yeah. If
the conversation changes dramatically.
It changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Guys, I got to get something else. I know we got more quarterback, but I got to tell you what happened to me this morning real quick. All right? So we went out for breakfast, my wife, my son, and I. I'm not going to say the name of the place because I'm not going there anymore based on the experience that I have now.
Lost another sponsor.
You know that the obvious question when you're done is where the hell was it?
Yeah, I'll tell you off the air. But it was
bury that mom and pop business into the ground.
It's actually not a mom and pop. I'll say that.
It's a chain. Well, then screw them.
It's they
might sponsor.
It is a chain. I don't know.
They won't.
Should I say it? What do you think?
Well, let's do it.
Vote. If you guys vote yes. I'll
See,
say.
I would have to know who it was before I was willing to
They
vote.
probably know.
No,
He might be an investor.
All right, so I'm at the Broken
But
Egg.
I would just want to know because I would hate for him to say it and be like, oh, man.
I'm at the Broken Egg at Crocker Park in Westlake. Okay?
I like that. Wow.
All right.
Reputable place.
First of all, this is going to be funny for me saying this, but their portions are too small. This is America, for crying out loud. This is America.
They give me enough, dog.
They bring out, my son orders pancakes, the kids' pancakes, okay?
Just go to a buffet
It's
bowl.
3 pancakes like this.
Yeah.
The silver
What is he, a freaking bird?
Yeah. Silver dollar pancakes need to be labeled such on the menu.
Well, but-
silver dollar pancakes.
No, silver dollar pancakes is fine. You don't give 3 silver dollar pancakes.
No, but were they labeled silver dollar pancakes?
They were, but you shouldn't have 3. Bull! Well, but wait, no. Right, but most places when you order silver dollar pancakes, you get like 8 or 10.
Well, Bull, you know why they're called silver dollar pancakes?
They're small. I know that, but you're supposed to have more. Now to my son, it's fine. He don't need to be fat. So
8
he's
silver
skinny.
dollar pancakes equals 3 regular
Okay,
pancakes.
so we walk in. Now, you guys are skinny. You won't appreciate this, but G, you might appreciate this.
Wow.
Jason, you're on the borderline at this point.
Shots fired, Jay. Shots fired.
All right. You know how you go to a restaurant and you go sit outdoors?
Yeah.
The outdoor seats are never comfortable when you're fat. They're not they're probably not comfortable for skinny people either, but I don't give the rat's ass what skinny people have to say.
They're made of iron or something.
They're always uncomfortable, and they're tiny. They're for people with tiny little asses like Mike, right?
And Mike, he doesn't care what you have to say.
No, I don't
Or
care.
about
You're
my
skinny.
ass, apparently.
Or about his asses. So the seats are always uncomfortable. Okay. So inside the restaurant, they got nice, comfortable seats. So I go to the Broken Egg this morning, and I said to the hostess, I'm like, would you mind if I take one of the indoor chairs and bring it outside?
You try to make the furniture.
And she looked at me like I had just said, can I punch you in the face? That's the look she gave me. Okay? And
Were
then
they
she says,
dramatically bigger or heavier, or were they just...
it's a huge difference in the chair. I wish I would have taken pictures of both.
Did you offer to carry it yourself?
I said, could I take it?
Right.
I was going to take it. Okay.
Okay.
So she's like, oh, well, you can't take one from the set. All right, the restaurant's huge. There's like 3 other tables full. The place is completely empty. There's got to be at least 70 of those chairs, probably more.
Right.
And maybe 5 are being used. So, like, what all of a sudden the restaurant's going to get packed on a Thursday morning at 8 o'clock? No, which it didn't. So, okay, so she goes off to see if she can get me a chair somewhere else. And I'm about to grab one, and then I see her walking out with one, and she puts it outside. And then she says to me, I said, thank you. She goes, it's okay. Just bring it back inside when you're done.
Wow.
She gave you some side work.
And I said,
It tells me she was already very disgusted.
exactly.
With yeah.
Bring it back. I don't work here. Your job is to move the freaking chair.
But you are the one that wanted it outside.
And I would have been happy to get it, and then I would have put it back.
Yeah, but being told.
But when you tell me I got to bring it back, no.
I see where you're going with that.
Poor customer service.
Of course. Now, I still gave a good tip to the waitress because she had nothing to do with it. I gave her almost 25%, even though service was average, not even particularly good.
You want to name her too while you're at it?
No, she was okay.
I was kidding.
Let's go with flow.
But like, I'm a big tipper. You've lost my. I don't know if I've ever given under 20% unless the service was hideous.
Right. Yeah.
And I normally give 25, 30. If the waitress is great, I'll give 50% tips.
50%.
And they have lost my business now.
It's like Brownstone,
of that.
giving 20%
I know
off
it's a
their
little,
insurance.
little thing. Maybe I'm making too big a deal.
Maybe.
But whatever.
No, but
So
you're
let's
right.
vote.
That's
Let's
frustrating.
vote.
Yeah.
Either a yay or nay, he's making too big a deal on this. Mike? And no on the fence.
Right,
Either
right.
yes he is or no he isn't.
No, I can understand. For him, I know that he gets upset about these sorts of things, and I understand. Everything is subjective.
That's true.
And I understand that he gets upset, so I honor
He
your
is raging
fury.
bull.
I honor your fury.
Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Jay?
Way overreaction.
Oh my God.
G. Bush?
He got the name Petty LaBoule for a reason.
Yeah, and so it's 3-1.
Yeah.
I think this is. So you complained that silver dollar pancakes were the size of silver dollars.
No,
How
well,
dare they?
Fair. I wasn't really complaining about that. I was complaining about the amount.
I will give you points for this.
Yeah.
I thought that the waitress should have been a little more cordial.
The hostess,
to you.
the hostess, but
I'm
yes.
sorry, the host.
Yeah.
That's also.
But what happened to the customer is always right.
Yeah,
that's
that went
also-
out the window with COVID.
That is
And I
also
wasn't
a
rude.
that's a
I was
17-year-old.
being very friendly in the beginning.
As we can, let
In
me
the
just
beginning.
let me just give you a quick perspective here.
Yeah.
If me, all 6'5" of myself.
Oh, they would call the police.
If all 6'5" of me, 300 and some odd pounds,
Yeah.
was told a small, middle-aged, young, 19-year-old white girl,
Right.
Yeah.
hey, I not only need you to get me a seat, I need you to carry it back for me. She'd have been like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
That
do
would
you
not
think this
that would not
is?
have gone over well.
And 3 people would have been bystanders. I can't believe that big guy over there actually that little
threatened
girl.
her.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're
she
right.
she would have called the police, man. That girl would have called the police on you.
No, you don't go to chain breakfast though. Like even like
No.
a nice chain, they're trying to be too fancy. They put
I
a little sprig
know.
of something on
That's
my
a bad-
eggs.
The moral of the story is just drive the extra distance to Sleepy Rooster.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm going this weekend.
Yeah.
The moral of the
Are
story.
you on a first name basis with them
Do you
over
have
there
a-
yet?
Oh yeah, they love.
Do you bring your own
friendly with
chair?
the owners. They're great people.
Awesome people.
And
How's
that's
the
why
seating? How's the
99% of the time I eat in local mom and pops.
Yeah, I do too.
Go
Whenever
get,
you
you,
can.
go get you a McGriddle and a hash brown.
No,
No,
that's
don't
gross.
do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's gross.
I try to avoid chains whenever I can.
I very
I
rarely
mean,
eat
if I'm in a
chains.
hurry and it's the absolute last resort, okay.
Yeah.
But typically supporting the local business.
All right, thank you, Mike, for being.
All right, that was
No
great.
problem.
I mean,
I didn't
kinda
mean it,
get
I just
the
wanted
chair
to back you
point,
up.
but other
Yeah.
than that, JG and I are just completely like,
Yeah.
you lose on this one. If
Yeah.
this was Judge Jay, I would have to rule
I'm not
in
going.
favor
Well, I
of
won't be going back. They've
the
lost my
broken egg.
business.
You know, what's
Forever?
you know what's funny?
No,
he
I'm
was
out.
talking about this for 20 minutes before the show.
Oh.
Jay's going to see my side.
I know.
Jay's going to
I
see
know.
my
He said it
side.
in the meeting.
No.
I know Jay will
I
understand.
didn't say that. I thought you'd appreciate it. I didn't say you'd necessarily agree with it.
I totally appreciate.
Yeah,
Look,
right.
Anytime we have bull on the edge,
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So get there and stay there, as far as I'm concerned.
Now, in fairness, I did have an incident at the Bay Diner once.
Bull's beef.
Which is a mom and
We need a
pop.
segment.
And I said I wasn't
Bull's
going
beef.
back there, but their food was so good that I eventually went back.
Oh,
You got a cave. The
Yeah.
old Chick-fil-A effect.
Jay's going to agree
he'll
with
be back.
he's going to agree with my privilege. The privilege is on deck. I know he is. I know.
My white privilege was not recognized there.
Yeah, no, it was not. I know. Why would he think I'm going to be on his side?
What's the point of even having privilege?
Okay, man. Okay, we're off and running. And the answer to that is clearly yes.
Yes.
You are.
I don't deny that.
So we have
Yeah.
Raging Bull.
Yeah.
We have Seeing Red. I do think we need Bull's beef. I mean, he's
Yeah.
always got beef
That could
with
be taken
somebody.
a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
Though. I'm not sure. What the title is that name, Jay.
Get your mind out of the gutter,
I
McNugget.
like how that would help the algorithm, actually. We get a new demo in here.
I'm sorry. I agree. We should just have a segment, a
right.
non-sports. I'm not sure.
For the record, my mind didn't go there.
And if you're a restaurant owner in the greater Cleveland area, be sure to disappoint him when he comes in so we get more material like
You know
this.
what's going to happen is they're going to start posting his picture, and they're going to be like, don't
be
we're
that
full
guy.
or we're closing if
You
this
know
guy
what?
comes to the door.
I've hyped up and made business for plenty of restaurants in this town.
You have. When they're great.
Can't get a table.
But
at
today
the
was the
Safety
first time I ever mentioned the negative experience that I ever mentioned the restaurant by
I
name.
bet it won't be the last.
I'll try not to.
I hope not, because I really do appreciate those. I do. All right, news of the day. Yesterday, Mary Kay Cabot reported at Cleveland.com that the Browns are not interested in trading for Jimmy G. And I thought that kind of sounded like a Captain Obvious report, simply because I have believed all along here that they feel like they're ready to go with what they have. They also, she had some interesting nuggets elsewhere. They never really considered trading for Jimmy G throughout all of that talk of what's going to happen, and they never really. She says the Browns never really considered that. She did say that they would be open to perhaps more discussion about Jimmy G or others if this suspension ends up being a year or more lengthy than 8 games, perhaps if it bleeds into 10 games. Who wants to start on this?
Well, that tracks with everything I've written and said, that they were never interested in Jimmy G. That goes back to the combine, that they felt like that wasn't really much of an upgrade over Baker, what they already had, and why would they do that with given what they'd have to give up to get him, and then what they have to pay him. But I think this is really just a report based on the fact that the 49ers have told Garoppolo's camp they can go out and seek a trade. But I think the last thing you said really is the most important. The Browns are basing this. They signed Jacoby Brissett under the assumption this is going to be a short-term suspension.
Right.
They can withstand a short amount of time. That's what we started the show with. If this goes the other way, if this is a year, if it's indefinite, if it's a really big number, I think at that point you have to go back and revisit all of your options. I don't think anybody is comfortable with Jacoby Brissett as a starting quarterback on this team for 17 games.
And they would certainly then open that discussion to Jimmy G.
I think
because
you have to.
He's the best available guy out there.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think you have to at that point.
That's probably the position that they're like in the weirdest spot with as far as what to do. You just don't know how to address it until you hear what this ruling is really if you're the Browns, because that's a big investment if you're going to do that. If you're going to go that Jimmy G route, he's got a lot of money, or you want to go cheap and get somebody like a free agent in here who has got some experience, and Mike Glennon, oh God, or Rosen or somebody like that, and that maybe that does make more sense. But again, it all depends on if he's gone for a year or not, and they're kind of in a holding pattern right now.
I'll tell you what, this just shows me that the Browns are all in on Stefanski and Andrew Berry, and no matter what happens, they will be back next year.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, maybe not.
This is the Haslam's we're talking about.
But yeah,
I think
because of the situation.
Yeah,
if Watson ends up missing 10 games, I don't know how you move on from Stefanski. I don't see that.
When they went and made the move, I think Jimmy Haslam said, "Listen, guys, you good. This is what we wanted to do. We good. Don't even worry about it."
Yeah.
And every single quarterback that they continue to talk about bringing in, they're like, "I'm good. No Garoppolo.
Yeah.
I don't really want these other guys." They're telling me, even if you go 4-something, they are looking at this, and they came into it thinking, "Oh, this is a red shirt."
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, red shirt. And I know it's
4-something might open that box.
I hope you're right.
I do too.
Because I really like Barry and Stefanski,
Yeah.
and I think they finally have it right.
You never know with Jimmy.
I will just tell you, when Baker got hurt in week 2, could you imagine saying in week 2?
No, I'll give you that.
In week, but he's hurt. Like, he got hurt. There's no way they're going to move on from him at the end of the year.
Let me say this, guys. A couple things. First of all, the reality is that outside of Garoppolo, unless there's somebody I'm just not seeing, there's nobody better than Jacoby Brissett, right? I mean, outside of Garoppolo,
no, it's July.
Right?
It's the end of July.
There's no free agents better. There's nobody on the roster better.
The party's about to start.
I don't know who else they could trade for. It's not like there's another team that has 3 good quarterbacks.
No.
So if it's not Garoppolo, it's Brissett. Those are the only 2 realistic options.
I guess the one thing you could do is you could work a trade for someone else's backup.
I mean, honestly,
that's
what
possible.
you would do.
But how many backups are even better than Brissett in the league? Not many.
Are we talking 6 to 8, or are we talking a full year?
That's the question.
Full year, I'm going after Garoppolo.
If it's a full year, honestly, I call Ryan Fitzpatrick and say, "Hey, you want to run it back one more time?"
I guess.
I really would.
Yeah.
To me, he's better
I don't
than,
know that he's any better than Brissett at this point.
Between that and Josh Jobs, we would have the smartest.
Yeah. The Harvard guy and
smartest
NASA
quarterback.
rocket scientist.
and the Ivy League on the sideline and the
I
front
do
office.
think the tricky number actually is 8, right? Like, I think if it's less than 8, you're just going to stick with Brissett, obviously. I think if it's the full season, you got to try to get Garoppolo. But if it's 8, it's kind of in the middle because the difference between Garoppolo and Brissett over 8 games could be 1 win. Right? It could be 1 win. And that 1 win ultimately could be the difference
between making
the playoffs and not.
I like
that. Makes it tricky. If it's 4 games, you got to stick with
Someone
Brissett.
floated an interest. I got a text yesterday from someone who's been following this from the beginning, and I hadn't thought of this. I don't know that anybody had it. I hadn't heard an uneven number.
That's what I was just about to say. Why is it at 3?
I got a text yesterday that said, wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being 9. And I was like, wait, why?
Yeah.
And they said it ends up being more than half. And I hadn't thought of that before.
Right.
And I don't know
why we
first
always say
reaction
even
was,
numbers. It's weird.
because that's the way our mind works. It's easy to go 2 to 4, 4 to 6.
Yeah.
And usually they are even numbers, but we have seen 3-game suspensions.
Yes.
So I know no one's really considered that as a possibility, but I guess 9, nothing's off the table.
Throw it in the mix.
What are we saying? Nothing's off the table.
But you're right, it is really bargain basement shopping right now for the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
It's like going through a grocery store right before a huge storm and everything's real picked over. And now we're just like, I guess Josh Rosen? I don't know. That's what it feels like.
Could we get Phillip Rivers at a time?
Yeah, exactly.
Could we get Drew Brees out of retirement?
Where's Andrew Luck? Anybody have Luck's number?
Actually, Drew was mentioned as a guy who might, when NBC kicked him to the curb, his name was mentioned as a guy that would be out there and perhaps, maybe. If I'm Drew and I'm looking at the roster, I would say I'm going to come back. That's the team I'm going to come back with.
Any quarterback that's not currently a starter in the NFL would want to play for the Browns.
Why
It's
not?
a good roster.
Why not?
I think Kevin Stefanski doesn't want a new quarterback.
I agree. I think you're right.
He wants to show people that this is what he thinks of himself as the quarterback whisperer. That's his forte, right? And he wants to come out and show I'm able to call great plays. I'm able to get wins. I'm able to move the ball with a guy that people don't think is very good or a backup. And I think he wants a chance to prove himself.
And guys, what was the Browns' record last year?
9-8.
8-9?
8-9, right?
8-9.
Is Jacoby Brissett? I know that Baker is better than Jacoby Brissett. Nobody's debating that. But isn't Jacoby Brissett as good, if not better, than the Baker we saw last year?
Well, the one we saw last year, Pro Football Focus, I think, had him ranked 14th among qualified quarterbacks. Brissett.
Oh, yeah, right.
So, by their
that's
metric,
what I'm saying.
not
Baker
that they're
was
the
like
Bible.
26.
The biggest difference, Brissett won't turn the ball over like Baker did last year.
And you know what?
That's
I
it.
think for Stefanski, that's all he's asking for.
With
That's all
this
any head
roster,
coach
that's all
is
he
asking
needs.
for.
Yeah.
Don't give the ball away.
That's right.
When you've got a defense that's definitely on the rise, and they certainly they were better last year at the end than they were at the beginning.
Right.
Just don't shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
I understand the Bengals weren't playing anyone, but go back and watch Case Keenum at that game at the end of the year. That's what they wanted all year long. He got the ball out quick. He was decisive with where it goes.
Yeah.
He was running the system that was put in front of him.
Should've kept playing.
I
Should've
think,
kept playing.
now this is hindsight. I'll throw it out there and see what you guys think of it. Had the Browns decided when it was obvious, and I don't know that it was obvious in week 3 or 4, but at some point it was obvious to everybody watching, this isn't Baker Mayfield. He's not good to play. If they would have put Case Keenum in at that juncture, I think they make the playoffs. And I use the reason I'm saying that is because we saw what he did when he played. We saw what the backup quarterbacks were able to do in games where Baker wasn't there. Stefanski's system, and Case ran it perfectly, I thought. I really think that they could have beaten some of the teams that those narrow losses.
The Raiders.
And all they needed was one more win to be really in the mix.
Well, I think
and
they
two
need
more
two more to win.
Two
playoffs.
definitely got them in.
I don't think they would have won 2 more games.
You don't?
I don't. I mean, I don't think Case Keenum is that much better than Bad Baker. He might have been a little, but I don't think he's that.
I think in Stefanski's offense, he was.
He can keep it on the rails.
I ain't never seen Case Keenum throw no 4 interceptions. You got to think about it.
Yeah, but how much has he played to throw for it?
Well, I'm just saying.
He had a body of work in Minnesota.
He
Played a
got
lot.
to an NFC
Let's look it up.
championship game.
And quite frankly, I thought he was pretty damn good.
He had one really good year in Minnesota.
He did.
And for
as a
me,
starter.
when he came off of the primetime game against Denver, they were running the ball with Dearness Johnson. He got the win. They come back next week against Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh didn't do anything really to win that game. The Pittsburgh here, Ben was shot. They couldn't throw the ball, and I'm like, all you need is a couple more plays to get that done.
Both Pittsburgh games.
Pittsburgh games.
So, I mean, if you just get those games,
But you know
you're
what?
in the playoffs.
But the whole point of last year was figuring out what you had in Baker and whether or not you could give this man $300 million. That was the whole. That's a huge reason that gets overlooked. Everyone's like, why did Baker play? Why didn't they sit him? Well, they're trying to make a decision on him. They're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
how
but
much
you
he's
want to
worth.
judge him when he's at his best.
Yeah, can you make
You
a
didn't have that
decision?
time. You
Right.
didn't
No,
have
I know
time to
you
do
didn't,
that.
but
So
that led us to where we are today.
That's exactly.
By
it.
the
That's
way,
why
Case
you are where you
Keenum
are.
the last 4 years, 32 touchdowns, 21 picks. That's not
Better than Baker.
He had 1 year.
I don't know about that.
Last year? Last year, Baker. Last year's Baker.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a better percentage than last year, Baker, sure.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I do think that Case would have given, and we have the benefit of the results.
We'll never
Hindsight's 2020.
No, we were saying it then. People were saying it then.
There were a lot of people
There were a
saying
lot.
it
I mean,
then.
I know I was. I was like, I did not want Baker
Case
playing.
Keenum's
once
not
I
very
saw
good.
him.
Here's the reality. Even if they would have made the playoffs, it wouldn't have mattered. They wouldn't have won in the playoffs. You're not winning with Case Keenum at quarterback.
How do you always have losing in the hypothetical playoffs
You're
last
always
year?
losing in the hypothetical playoffs.
Yeah, well,
if you have Case Keenum at quarterback, you
remember,
don't win with guys like
you
that.
still
in the
have
playoffs.
really good pieces, and this is still the team that beat the Bengals easily.
And I
I
still
know
would have liked to have
that,
gone to the playoffs.
But
That
the
would have been
bottom
fun.
line is all the teams in the AFC that are going to be in playoff contention also have really good roster. We keep saying the Browns got a great roster, which they do, but so do the Bengals, so do the Bills, so do the Ravens, so do the Chiefs. So do the Chargers.
Look out west.
They've
Everybody
all
out
got
west
really
now.
good
I
rosters.
understand, but as
so
an
the only
NFL
way to compete is to also have the great
As an
quarterback.
NFL fan, I'm still pro playoffs, though, even if we go and lose.
I agree.
2 years in a row,
I
and
would
the
much
Browns are
rather
playoffs,
go
I'm all
at
for it.
10
I
and
agree.
7
Yeah.
and lose in the first round.
I agree.
So
I
it's
just don't
worth
buy
it.
the Keenum would have gotten there, but we'll never know.
I think the one thing that we consistently miss, we talk about the quarterback and we talk about the roster all the time.
Yeah.
But your coach has to, coaching counts. Bill Belichick, we talk about this AFC, he went to the playoffs with a rookie and no-name running backs, and I don't know who the heck they got at receiver. But all I know is they put 40-some-odd points on us up in Foxborough. My thing is,
And they're not very good.
and they not that good.
Yeah.
So a coach accounts for certain games. A coach can beat you in a game. I remember, was it 2018 or 2019? I remember the Browns going up to Pittsburgh, and they had Duck Hodges.
Right.
And Duck Hodges.
Yeah, coach makes a big difference.
Duck Hodges walked right up and
And he
down the
sucked.
field, and I'm like, what? How does this happen?
Yeah.
You know, Stefanski can account for 2 to 3 games that the Browns weren't supposed to win just by time management, just by scheming something up, or getting out to a good lead and holding it.
Now, what I would say is, and this talk, to bring it back here, this talk about Jimmy Garoppolo, part of the reason I don't think they're going to trade for him, Jay, is because while the Browns have the most salary cap, we put a tweet up by Albert Breer earlier, while the Browns have the most salary cap space now, and there's the tweet, I mean, way more than anybody else. However, they have so much money on the hook for next year that as of now, which doesn't matter that much, but it gives you a snapshot, they're over the cap, the projected cap for next year, even though they're $48 million under this year.
It's projected 12 over the projected cap for next year.
Right.
And not only that, it gets worse. The Browns are projected to be 29th.
Right.
In the hierarchy of cap scale for 2023. And I know everybody's looking at that money saying, why are we sitting on that money?
Right.
Well, I think they're holding their smoke until they know exactly what happens with Deshaun Watson.
Absolutely. Plus,
and the other thing, too, is that cap space rolls over. And they know they're going to need relief next year.
That's right.
So I know everybody's looking at that saying, what are we doing? Why are we spending this money? It doesn't work that way. You have to look long-term as well as in the micro this year.
Yes. Every dollar you spend this year affects dollars
Absolutely.
available
And they are
next
on the
year.
hook for big money
Right.
next
Think
year.
about Watson's contract next year, Myles Garrett's next year, Denzel Ward's next year. These are all going way up.
They have 248 committed for next year. I was texting with Zach Jackson, our
Yeah.
great Browns writer. 248 committed to next year on a 208 cap. So you can see where and I've said all along.
Wait, the projection is what for next year?
No, he was saying this year's cap number is 208.
Right.
Yeah.
They have 248 for next year. The
Right.
cap is going to go up next year. We know that.
A lot,
But they're
not-
going to have to
still.
figure some things
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
They have. I didn't realize Amari Cooper was fully guaranteed for next year at $24 million.
And that's a big number.
That's a big number for a guy on the wrong
and
side.
you can't cut him. That dead money is still going to be on the cap, and you're going
right.
to take that hit.
And the point that I've made is like the luxury that they had in paying these guards when you had Baker as the quarterback.
Exactly.
But I don't know that you
gone
can
now.
have guards making $15 million when your quarterback's making 45.
And you know what? That is
they
the
can't
rub
get-
in the NFL right there. When the Seahawks won their Super Bowl, they won it when Russ was still on a rookie contract.
right.
They were able to load up at other positions.
That's right.
When you have a quarterback that's in that higher stratosphere, it changes life. You don't have the luxury to go out and get top-tier players at every position group.
Right.
You just don't.
I think they're going to have to make some really hard decisions on that across that offensive line.
They absolutely
For
are.
people who are terrified of that salary cap number, though, and it just looks impossible to deal with over the next couple of years, if you just look at it, isn't a lot of it, though, hasn't he been smart, Barry, about making these contracts in a way that
Very
you can get
smart.
out from under that last year just by dumping?
Yes, but it's still going to be punitive.
They can't get out of Bitonio. Not that you want to, but you can't
Right.
get out of Bitonio and Teller next year.
No.
There's really none of their big contracts they can get out of. the biggest contract, the most money they can get out of next year is Nick Chubb, and they're not going to want to get out of his contract.
We'll see how he does.
But there's other guys. You can negotiate sign. They always have ways around the cap.
There's a lot of math that you can do to
can kick the
move
can
things
down the road
around.
and restructure
However,
the deal.
in the past, they've had a lot of wiggle room. The
Right,
guy
that's
that I
gone.
trust most on the cap,
Yes.
I spoke with him yesterday, and I said, 1 to 100. 1, you're not worried at all. 100, you're seriously concerned about where the Browns are in the future of the cap. He said, put me at 80.
Wow.
And I said, well, explain that to me. And he said,
David Njoku.
there's certain things you can do. Now, he was mentioning.
That's what he said.
There's certain things that you can do that you can work around. There's workarounds in the cap. He's intimately aware of the way these contracts are structured. And he said, there is relief with some players. But he said, my fear for you and your fan base is you're going to see difficult releases in the future. Yeah. And I said, give me some names. And he goes, no one specific, but they'll be in the caliber of the Chubbs and the Garretts, because those are the ones that would offer you the biggest relief.
Yeah, I mean,
and that terrified me.
There is going to be some of that. That always happens. But the smart teams are able to overcome that by filling, like they're able to, like I wanted them to keep Treader, but they're like, okay, well, we can't keep everybody. So they're filling him with a young guy they believe
Right.
in. That's what you got to do.
Why do we think we have Jerome Ford right now when we have 3 awesome running backs? Because he knows.
He brought Ford up as a guy who will likely replace.
He's got to
if
let go.
Kareem Hunt's gone.
He's a good answer to Hunt or Chubb if they have to make that super difficult decision.
Right.
And guys, we all know those decisions when you're in the higher tier cap, those decisions have to be made.
In layman's terms, let me go ahead and break it down for you people. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo. These guys is
Mumbo
hitting
jumbo.
You.
Not really.
You guys hitting you with all kind of Series 7 and financial terms. Okay. Say, for instance, you have bad credit, right? You don't really have a down payment. So you got to go to the car lot, and they tell you what you can get. They're like, yeah, we'll give you this 2015, and you're going to pay $420 a month for it. You know why?
Don't do it.
You know why you got to do it? Because you ain't got no other options. They're the only one giving you the loan, and you got to go to work. So you sign up for it. You get to 2015, you're going to work. All of a sudden, the 2015 breaks 2 years into your lease, right? Into the deal. Now, guess what? You still got a car payment. You still got to pay the bank every month $400.
32% interest.
Or they come and take it.
At 22%. And then you can't let them repo it because then your credit takes a hit and then nobody gives you.
You already have
another
bad
card.
credit.
So, hey, it's a repossession. So here's what happens. You usually go ahead and say, you know what, that 420, I still got to pay that. I'm not going to fix that. Here's what they'll let you do. They'll say, you know what, come on back. We'll let you turn that in, right? Get you in something newer, 2019 and above. All they do is roll that money right on into the other one at a different interest rate. And guess what? That's how poor people stay poor. Well, the Cleveland Browns don't have any credit. They don't got good players. So you know what you got to do for good credit? You got to go out and pay extra for players that are good.
I think they have great players.
Now they do.
Now they do.
Yeah.
Because they went out and got Deshaun Watson at a premium price that they had to overpay for. Yeah. So now, guess what's going to happen? If anything happens in the next 2 or 3 years and you still got to pay that tag, you're going to have to be thinking around like, Kareem Hunt, I don't know about this. Amari Cooper, maybe a couple more years after that, we might get you. But that's the price of doing business. Now, can you still go to work? Yes. Is your payment still $400-something? Yes. You're kicking the can down the street in order to get what you need to get done. And the Cleveland Browns have a quarterback. I think they'll cut tight ends.
Let's hope in your analogy that the Browns car doesn't break down.
Yeah. I just hope we can start it.
In this world that you're talking about, if that car breaks down, it's over.
Yeah.
It's a gamble.
And the car you're talking about is Deshaun Watson.
That's exactly the car I'm talking about.
Hinges
but
on the engine.
That cannot happen.
Yeah, but with Baker Mayfield, the quarterback, they were still riding the bus.
They were. You're right. But in your scenario, I'm just using your scenario. If we just roll that over to the Browns, and the same thing happens to the Browns. Oh, damn! My 2015 car broke down. What do I do now? In the Browns scenario, if that car breaks down, guys, we're in for a long, hard run.
You're right. The key to surviving, you brought up the Seahawks. Eventually, they lost all these pieces on defense. What did they do? They did a bad job drafting for a while after that. Who's there? Outside of DK Metcalf, they don't have a lot of good young players. They have no offensive line.
But in defense of the Seahawks organization, you could see their decline coming at 1,000,000 miles an hour. If you remember, after they won the Super Bowl, they had a number of really good players that were due to hit free agency.
Right.
And they got paid. And all the experts were saying, Now you'll watch, not the sudden decline of the Seahawks, because I don't think there's been that rapid decline.
Yeah.
They just went from that realm of being at the top to now being in the place that's really horrible to live for a long time, and that's sort of purgatory.
They're the Indiana
They make
Pacers
the playoffs.
now.
They're the Pacers.
Yeah.
They make the playoffs, but they barely
No
make
real
the playoffs,
chance,
so they're
right.
not getting good draft picks.
But now
and
here's-
it's really hard to rebuild.
But here's the thing: when you look at it, right? Like Tom Brady was. I know there's a big deal about he wasn't the highest paid player, but he was paid plenty of money, and they still won Super Bowls. Matthew Stafford was getting paid a ton of money last year.
Yes,
and
he was.
Yes, ideally you want to have a great like. The Bengals are in a great position right
they're
now
in a
because
great
they got a great
position.
quarterback who's not making a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a good spot. But these guys got to get paid because they're worth it.
But you still got to hit. If you get
You
the
still
quarterback, you still got to hit.
Still got to
on the
hit,
draft
and,
picks.
and
You
you've
do.
got to be. Now it's even more imperative. When the Browns were, doing decent with Baker, you could spend more money on other places. Now with Watson, they're not. We're not going to see any more big free agents coming in the next couple of years.
They got to develop.
They got to develop
It's the
guys.
Nick
That's the
Harris's in
key.
the fifth round.
And I'll tell you
that's the
why
key.
I
Tommy
feel
Togiai.
generally good, and this probably will sound like a homer comment.
Yeah.
But in Barry, I trust.
I do, too.
I do. I think that now. Someone told me once that you can be a victim of your own draft success, and what that means is when that draft class is due the second contracts, you now have to really pay
Pay all
real
these
currency.
guys.
Oh crap!
Yeah,
all
yeah.
these
So
guys are good.
There's real currency, and then there's draft currency. And the way to do it early on, and that's why the window is so short, hit with that draft currency, have players that are really good on young deals that aren't
Yeah.
going to break the team, but then know that as those guys move into their next contracts, you're going to pay for your own success.
And you have to. It's
In
like,
money.
It's almost like housing markets, right? You think your house is worth $300,000 right now.
Yeah.
3 years later, they could come back and say, "Oh no, that $300,000, 200, 210."
Yeah, not anymore.
Now, if you let your guys go to the second level, right? You got them on your team. You now have to evaluate: was it our scheme? Was it the coaching? Was it the quarterback?
Yeah.
Because guys out there, who's the kid that went to the Jaguars? Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
The Christian Kirk deal. The Cardinals are like, yeah, we drafted you, but you're not that good. We got to let you go.
I can't believe they paid him that much money. That's crazy.
So you have to be good at doing that
Yes,
too.
that's true.
Evaluating who you got.
Yes, and at running back, as we move it along to Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, I think, is going to be gone at the end of this year because you have Nick Chubb. They're not going to pay a lot of money to two running backs. I think Hunt's gone, but I think Chubb will remain.
I hope so. In the short term, I think you're absolutely right. He has to. And
Yeah.
he's still at the peak of his prime.
And that's why you have these other
but
young
at
guys.
some point, if the production begins to diminish, that's why, to your point, Ford is sitting there. That's why he was drafted. Everybody
Right.
was like, why are they drafting another
like
running
that
back?
guy.
Right.
Well,
like him.
he's a safety.
And that's
net.
why they're not getting rid of Dearness Johnson, I don't think, because
Yeah.
they may want to keep him to be the number 2 guy next year. We'll see.
All right, McNuggets. What's the internet saying is next, right?
Yeah, we got some comments. I got you, G. Don't worry on this. But when we tell you what the internet says, it's brought to you by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils at Eastlake, Mentor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting $18 and up. Plus, get a full benefit package, paid time off, and a signing bonus. Apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more.
And that's just the way it is.
Oh, my
PCC will never change.
Nice.
You needed
pretty
a
good.
second verse.
It was under 7 seconds, so we don't have to figure it out.
Gotta watch.
So before we get to the Nick Chubb stuff, we just want to read a couple YouTube comments real quick. Fry says Stefanski looks great because we had Hugh Jackson and Freddie Kitchens, but he's really just an average coach. JC says as far as Stefanski, love how he manages things. If or when Van Pelt is fully trusted to run the offense, Stefanski can become elite head coach in this league. And then smartass official says, I hope I'm wrong about Stefanski, but repeatable penalties like 12 men on the field for a punt do concern me. Real
fair.
quick thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Average is harsh. I think he's above average.
He's above average.
Last year scared me a little bit, I'll be honest. I feel like he had that hell of a first year, coach of the year, and that's a hard thing to maintain, obviously. And he got some curveballs thrown at him. He came into that first year with very low expectations too, if you'll recall. Like his first, he's a rookie coach.
He's a Browns coach.
And he's a Browns coach.
Yeah.
And he's following Hugh Jackson, right?
Yeah.
So the bar was low.
The bar's super low, so he's gonna and of course we're all thrilled. So he had a hard act to follow, but yeah, some of his in-game stuff did concern me last year.
I like Kevin Stefanski. I think he's probably above average. I don't know that he's accomplished enough to say he's better than average. He's got a lot to prove. The reality is, from the outside, we really don't have any clue if he's a good coach or not. We don't really.
Why is this crazy?
This is crazy because to me, when you hear it, you would swear up and down that Kevin Stefanski is the coaching version of Baker Mayfield, right? Everyone says he had a great first year. That second year, I don't know. Now it's like, yeah, like you really want to see. You really want to evaluate. Because you look at these comments, people are telling you, he's average to me. He has some stuff that leads.
But G. Bush, is he above average to you?
Hey, G. Bush, before you answer that, we're going to get into CBS released its top 32 head coaches this week.
Oh.
We're going to do that list tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we'll find out where CBS thinks he is.
Okay,
on the
that's
average,
fair,
above
but
average,
I'm just
best
curious to
average.
think.
That's a major network.
I think he's.
We should pay attention.
Walter
to it.
Cronkite's network,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they have to be legit.
Yeah, they'd know.
I think he's above average. I think he's above average, but to me, I always say it, Baker Mayfield is the new standard, right? No longer could you just say, hey, we ain't never had a coach before. Well, we ain't never had a quarterback before. We got rid of him.
Right.
Now, I keep saying it. This is Kevin Stefanski either can have you thinking really great about the Cleveland Browns going into next year, or you could be really thinking like, so we ain't got no first-round picks? So we ain't got no picks because we went 2 and something.
Getting
We would have
panicky.
loved that pick. We would have loved them
Yeah.
too.
The eye emoji is definitely on Kevin Stefanski right
Right.
now. We're all looking.
100%.
To his point on the in-game stuff, you're going to have 12 men on the field
Yeah.
penalties. I've seen Bill Belichick have them.
Was he doing it that much? I'm sorry.
No,
in that first season, and we just didn't notice because we were winning.
No, I didn't think he did.
So
actually.
he regressed then.
It's not the 12 men for me. It's the pre-snap penalties. That is
that is maddening.
That's discipline.
Yeah.
And under Freddie, it was a disaster.
It was.
It was a fire drill on the sideline, and that went away Kevin's first year, and it crept back. Last
It did
year.
creep back. I agree with you.
And so that is concerning. That's alarming. I look at Kevin. Kevin is what I want in an NFL head coach. He's a forward thinker. He's an analytics guy. He does the fourth down.
Even
I
keel.
love going
Even
for it.
keel is what I love about
Silver
it.
Fox.
I love that. Silver Fox doesn't hurt.
Everything you need.
The good gruff. You know,
But I like
chips dig 'em.
I like the fact that they play the numbers and they play the odds. We talked about it
Yeah.
earlier about hitting on 16. 4th and 2, midfield, they're going to go for it. 4th and 3, they're going to go for it.
Love it.
But you also have to have the personnel on the field that can execute what's called.
Yeah, and as the season goes on, they're using averages, and that's fine. But once you have a large enough body of work for what this particular team is, I think that has to factor into the equation.
And I think it did as the year went on.
There was still,
we
yeah,
talked
I
about
think
that.
you're right.
There were times where the book says hit on 16, and he's
And
like,
that's fine. I've played this hand
Yes,
before.
that's exactly
Yeah,
it.
I will say this on Stefanski. I think in general last year, I think he got a lot of criticism. Some of it was fair, some of it wasn't. I think the big mistake he made last year was just leaving Baker Mayfield out there way too long.
big one.
Because we all knew that it was time
Yeah.
for him to go, but somebody had to be the adult in the organization and say, you're sitting.
I know we got to move on here, but real quick, the Browns' 6th most penalties per game in the NFL last year. But by the way, 4 of the 5 teams ahead of them made the playoffs. So it's not like you can't.
It's not even the penalties. It's the
kind of penalties.
It's the kind.
Yeah, but where do the Browns rank with other teams?
Well,
We don't know.
I
We're only
had
looking at
it.
the
I'd
Browns.
have to go back and look.
right.
Again, it's the pre-snap to me.
Yeah,
that
those
makes-
were the ones
All
that
right.
were maddening last year.
Let's
Okay.
get to these Nick Chubb props here.
Let's
Yeah,
talk to a little
we
Nick
love
Chubb
prop
stuff.
bets.
Yeah, so this is how it all came about. So let's take the first tag board here, number 7. ESPN, or not ESPN, Madden released its running back rankings. Nick Chubb was the 2nd highest rated running back in the league, which sounds about right. Let's punch to the next tag board. So about 5 minutes later, I'm scrolling through Twitter, and I see this video from Nick Chubb,
Oh, I saw this. That is nuts.
which is stupid. It doesn't actually tell you how much weight it is, but if you've ever been in a gym, that's a lot more weight than any of us can lift.
What is it,
combined.
4 plates
Don't
on
speak
each
for
side
me.
or 5?
It's 4.5. Yeah, I think it's 425 as a clean
man.
press, which is just stupid.
I've never made the bar bend in the gym ever, not one time.
Which that reminded us of the next one, Anthony. Let's punch it.
By the way, come on.
Remember this?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
just.
This was just fun.
That's the
675.
walk-off weight room move
Easy
I've
money.
ever seen.
Nah.
So that led us to thinking, let's create some prop bets for Nick Chubb this year. Let's take the first one here, Anthony. The first one, will Nick Chubb have a 1,500-yard rushing season?
That's a
this
big
year?
number.
It's a big number.
It's
He
possible.
won't, guys.
It's possible.
Is he
Of course
capable
it's
of it?
possible.
Yes.
Yes.
He's capable of it. But
That's
with all the
exactly-
Yeah, but on
weapons
this
that they
team,
have,
he's not
It
going
would
to
be
be.
irresponsible
Green.
play calling if he has 1,500 yards, I feel like.
Yeah.
I really do. You have that
I-
many weapons, and
So I can't argue with the Madden rating because you get to call the plays. So you get to decide when you're playing Madden how much you use it.
Right,
If I'm playing Madden and I've got Chubb as my running back, he's getting more than 16 carries a game.
I think it's also hard to say how many yards he's going to have until we know
Quarterback.
the Watson
Yep.
Yeah, that's very
decision.
true.
Yeah, but Nick Chubb will put up big numbers in the amount of carries no matter who the quarterback is. I just think he's not going to get enough carries probably to get to 50.
Jason, I'll ask you to address that because I had this conversation with a couple people yesterday. I said that originally. He's going to have a huge number because if Jacoby's the quarterback, but I was quickly reminded that, well, defenses are going to know what they're going to do, and they're going to load the box, and they'll make it more difficult for Chubb.
Well, again, I'll go back to what I said, I think it was last week. Historically, if you run for 8 yards a carry, you're 12-12 over the last however many years.
Right.
If you throw it for 12 yards per attempt, you're 32-1. You have to throw the ball in the NFL.
Yeah.
So as wonderful as Nick Chubb is, as great of a weapon as he is,
defenses can stop that if they want to.
It's not guaranteeing you a victory. As much as I scream, there's no such thing as too much Chubb.
Right, but we all agree they got to throw the ball more. I think they were 6.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I think Kevin understands that better than all of us put together.
Yeah.
So even if it is Jacoby at quarterback, I think 1,500 probably is still a little bit too high of a number.
There's only one player in the NFL that got it last
They're just
year.
so talented at running back. Then it'd be one thing if it was empty behind him,
right?
And everybody else was so subpar or something. But they have other options. So even when teams do stack the box, then you can, you have another. You don't know where it's going, who it's going to.
Yeah. So you're taking the under. I'm taking the under.
I'm taking the under.
Do we have anybody, G. Bush, that's taking the over?
The over is a tough one. 15. He might get to 1,500, but
that would be the over.
That wouldn't be. Did you guys make up that prop?
No, that's from Pro Football Focus, actually. The other two we made up.
And I did see that
one
Vegas,
was from Pro Football Focus.
I will say this. One thing you have to take into account for, he does play 4 weak opponents in the first part of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do get the lead, they will be running the ball a lot.
And there is an extra game that I don't think our brains have really
Yes.
factored
No, I know.
in.
We always think of 1,500.
Yeah, but again, last year they had the extra game and only one guy had more than 50.
But also, there tends to be a game or two every year where Chubb is dinged and he's not out there.
That's part of it too. Yeah.
And it's not a fault of his. It's a position that's high impact, obviously.
Kareem Hunt could get hurt too. That would affect his running because he does get hurt.
There is also the factor that we haven't had here in Cleveland. We've never had a running quarterback.
That's true.
So when you have a running quarterback and you're a defensive lineman and defensive end, you can't just be running around. Like, you can't just run down the line and tackle somebody from the backside on a stretch or a zone play. Now you have to watch all fakes. You have to watch counters. You got to watch the quarterback. You got to stay contained.
Yeah.
There's so many different things that you got to watch for that even when Michael Vick was not a really great passer, his team was always rushing for over 220, 30 yards just because of what they could do in the running game.
So are you taking over or are you going under?
I'm still going under.
Right.
I think Kareem Hunt
too high.
ended up with
He's gonna have
800
another
yards.
great season.
Nick Chubb would take the under because he's so humble.
Yeah.
Probably.
He would take the
I
under.
don't know if I
Jason,
could do
I think
1,500.
your analysis was spot on. Could he? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, we all
as easily as anybody in the league.
Sure.
Will he? Track record says probably not.
Yeah.
Let's get to our next bet. This was a Mike Lucas, Anthony Antonelli combo special.
Nice.
Let's take it, Steve, 24. Over under 11.5 touchdowns this year for Nick Chubb.
Just rushing or total?
Just rushing.
I mean, he gets most of his touchdowns right.
I'm taking under.
That's a lot of touchdowns.
What did he have last year? Someone help me.
He had 8 last
but he
year,
wasn't- but-
12 the year before, and then 8 the previous 2. Steve, if you
Give me
can
a
take
buck.
With
5,
Hunt,
you can
and
punch
with
that
Hunt,
up.
an option and an
And-
O-line option.
Deshaun Watson's going to do some quarterback keepers, which Baker did not do.
No.
You're going to see quarterback sneaks
Man,
with him.
you know what? As much as we've struggled from
Yeah.
inside the 5,
What
when
a
you throw
difference.
Watson into this offense,
Yeah.
and now
Yep.
he's the man. I don't think our red zone percentage when he's playing is going to be through the roof.
I actually will say over, even though I think Watson's going to have a number of touchdowns rushing, which he has in his career. But I think in the games he plays, I think the Browns are going to score a boatload of touchdowns.
If he gets 12 touchdowns, I'm loving our chances.
I'm giving him exactly 12 on the year.
Okay.
14 touchdowns.
Wow.
He's going to score a bunch in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
When they get to the red zone, if Brissett's the quarterback, it's the Chubb show.
They might run it 4
time
times.
after time
Yeah, but
after time.
it could be Hunt too.
Well, that leads us to our next question. You
There
want
were
to just get right into it?
Well, wait. Mike and Jason didn't.
I'm
answer
taking the
over-under.
under. I'll be the wet blanket, even though we'll never go
No, I
back
took the
we'll
under,
never
too.
go back and look at this
We
footage.
should.
And
We
I
should
should
always-
I should
people
just be
should.
positive all the time, probably,
No,
because no
so
one will
people
ever
will
know.
love you.
Yeah, just be like,
Or you could-
I'm 15, 17.
Give me
You're gonna
30.
Or you could be like Colin Cowherd and just pretend you're right even when you're wrong.
get right. Just
Jason,
ignore
over
it.
under.
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 That's a really big number.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Yeah,
with
I-
all the
Jason's a
weapons that
negative
they have.
Nelly.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
that's not negative. You just.
Why do you hate the
realistic.
Browns? Why do you hate the Browns?
Come on, start tweeting Jason is negative. Let's see that on
I
Twitter.
get enough of those.
That
Not
leads us
trending.
right to our final prop bet, though.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kareem Hunt. We've talked about Nick Chubb. So who scores more overall total touchdowns in 2022?
Definitely Chubb.
Chubb.
Jump. As I choke on coffee. Chubb for sure.
Yeah, it'll be Chubb, but it'll be close.
It's a clean sweep.
I think Kareem Hunt does get double-digit touchdowns, though. I think he gets 10.
He's gonna be playing with his hair on
24
fire.
They get
touchdowns.
24 touchdowns from running backs?
Yeah, 24.
Well, Kareem will have a bunch receiving.
Receiving.
Yeah.
he
Right
will
now,
receive.
you're kind of being that dude. Yeah, I got a 17-0. Duh, Browns.
No,
You're kind of being that dude right now.
Nah, I mean, 10 touchdowns is not when he catch the ball so much. I mean,
God, I hope you're right.
If he has 6 touchdowns on the ground,
No,
and
wait.
4 in the air,
No, I thought
that's
these were
10.
just rushing touchdowns.
No, he
No,
said
the
total.
Kareem Hunt
touchdowns?
Chubb was total. And just some numbers for you
Still,
guys
those,
real quick.
man, 24. Has a backfield, how many times has a backfield combined for 24 total
I'll look that up in a
touchdowns?
second, but real quick, just to give you a
You
little
think it's
context.
happened a lot?
No, I'm saying.
Not a lot.
I'm saying that's
Give
a
you a little
lot.
context on Kareem Hunt. He had 11 touchdowns total as a rookie, 15 his second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
9.
just
When he was being used as he should be.
here it comes.
Yeah.
Here
9.
comes the drop off.
And here's the drop. Yeah. Well, he did have 11 in 2020, and then just 5 last year.
He had 11.
He was hurt a lot last year.
Oh, he
He
had
was
11 in 2020. Like, that's 10. He got one less than he been
Listen,
doing.
G. Bush, I hope to
G.
God you're right.
Dearness Johnson, 12 touchdowns. Give or
3.
take 3. All right.
I got
Maybe.
Ford with 10.
Ford with 10. God.
And Watson's
let's
going to
just-
throw for 4,000 yards.
Yep.
In 6 games.
Amari Cooper's going to have 20.
Yep.
Amari Cooper, 17.
We're averaging 75 points a game this year.
All right, listen.
I got that free agent basketball tight end with 7.
Hey, don't
I don't even know his name.
don't get me on Njoku. I told you. 890
All right,
yards.
Mike. Mike was panicked. We'd have too much time left to do this next topic.
Actually,
of course, we're getting it to
we
10
hit it
minutes
perfect.
No,
late.
we're going to skip one.
We're skipping
We're
one.
we're gonna skip
We're
one.
skipping
No,
one.
I
We're going
know.
right to the ESPN
We're going to talk
rankings.
about the ESPN Power Rankings.
Right.
3 years out.
No.
That's like saying, that's like asking Betsy Kling, I'm getting married in 2025. Can you tell me if it's going to rain on June 13th?
She get her computer and
No,
start
wait
trying.
a second. It's
Yikes.
not 3 years out. It's the next 3 years combined.
Yes, but the part of that is 3 years out. So it's in
Yeah.
total. It is in
Yes.
total, in fairness. They're not just predicting who's going to win in 2024.
Right.
They had 4 writers that were asked to grade all of the franchises in a number of areas, not just for this coming season, but through 2024. And obviously you would look at contracts, how long they are,
Yeah.
the age of their roster, and so forth.
I like all 4 guys that are part of
I
this.
love all 4
Yeah.
guys, and I respect all 4 of them
Yeah.
immensely. What they came up with was the Buffalo Bills have the most to look forward to over the next 3 years. Here's the top 5. Don't know that there's anything that's really alarming.
That's
in
great
there.
for all those LA fans.
Yeah, they love this.
I'm surprised by the Rams. I am.
Are you? Yeah,
they're
because
a little bit older. They're going to have cap issues.
They're going to have cap issues.
Stafford isn't in the. I mean, Stafford was an upgrade over what they had, but he's not in the class of Josh Allen
And he's not in the prime of his life either.
No,
No, he's
So
not.
I'm a little surprised by that.
I think they expect that big things from the Rams again this year, and perhaps even next year. But again, this is a 3-year.
Yeah, I mean,
outlook deal.
I know they weighed the position. They did 5 different grades.
Right, yeah.
I know they weighed some of them differently than the others. I wonder if they weighed
Quarterback got a lot of weight.
Yes, but I wonder if they weighed the 22 season a little more than 23 and a little more than 24. I wonder if they did that too.
I would have if I was doing
Yeah.
it, because obviously, to your point, if you're looking at the
Right.
Rams, you're going to say, well, in 24, they are strapped with contracts that are not favorable to the team.
Right.
And by the way, your draft picks are gone.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to know the 5 things they ranked, by the way? Just
Yeah, go ahead and read them off. I had them down. I
They
just thought it
ranked
was a little-
roster, quarterback, coaching, draft, and front office.
and
Those are the
roster is
5.
minus quarterback.
minus quarterback.
Yeah.
So obviously, the quarterback has a category all to
Well,
himself.
one team that doesn't belong with the others in that, and it's the Rams.
Yeah.
With Stafford, he's not in the again.
I
with
don't even
Allen
see
and Mahomes.
Packers. I don't even see the Packers.
You know what? That one. Not
I don't
as
know.
much as the
I
Rams.
agree that Stafford's not as good as those guys, but I don't think it's a huge drop.
How long is his contract for? Stafford there? Just
2
like-
more years? No.
2 more years.
Yeah,
Two
2
more
more
years.
years.
2 more years.
What's the 6 through 10? This is where we get to
Let's
finally
punch it, Steve.
see some AFC North teams. You've got Cincinnati at 6, Baltimore at 7. Fun to be in that division, huh, kids?
Ugh.
And then Cleveland was tied for 10.
I like you bumped
First
that
of all,
other 10
first
out.
and foremost, how is Tampa Bay 8? How's Indianapolis 9?
But wait a second. You guys, I think you're just judging based on the quarterback. This is not just based on quarterback.
No,
Five
no,
different
no, no.
categories.
Total
I-
roster.
no.
There's 5 categories.
Yeah.
Gee,
Where's Tampa Bay's lights out guys? Like these,
Tampa Bay's had one of the better defenses the last 2 years.
I mean, yeah.
They got Mike Evans, one of the best receivers. They got Chris Godwin. He's
Mike
great.
Evans in 3
Mike
years.
Evans is coming off an injury.
Godwin's coming off an injury.
But you got a quarterback for probably one more year.
Yeah, there may be 5 categories, but you have to put a lot of weight into the quarterback.
But they don't.
The quarterback was weighted, I think, 15%.
It was 20, I think.
Was it 20?
And I think the rest of the roster was a little higher.
And it should be.
Yeah. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think the quarterback's the most important.
Versus the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Man, look, man. If Tom Brady ain't on Tampa Bay, I don't care nothing about the Buccaneers. They don't scare me one lick. Stop playing
To me,
games.
every team on that list besides the Colts has a legitimate chance at the Super Bowl, and that's qualifying that the Browns have Deshaun Watson.
And the Colts definitely don't make sense.
The Colts have a really nice roster besides quarterback. And
I agree with that.
Yeah, they got talent.
The Colts and Browns are very much alike.
I think, too, can you put 6 through 10 up again one more time?
Give us 1 sec. And we also have 11 through 15 if you guys want to see who came in just
I know the Niners were tied with the Browns for 10th. But here's the thing. The Browns are 7th in the AFC on this list. And the point I wanted to make off of this, guys, is that I think there's this sentiment out there, and I obviously have been very high on the Browns, and I think they have a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. And I think 9 teams have a chance to win a Super Bowl, and I think 6 of them in the AFC. And that's what makes it very challenging.
Not ideal.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what makes it very challenging. The Browns roster minus quarterback is really good, but it's either not better or certainly not significantly better than Buffalo, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Chargers. I think all 6 of those rosters are kind of neck and neck. If you look at just their roster rankings, the Bills were kind of above, and then the other 5 AFC teams were all really, really close, minus quarterback. And that's why this idea that if Watson missed the whole season, the Browns can make the playoffs is really silly. And they're not making the playoffs. Even if they did,
one of us here thinks that they are.
That's not silly.
I think it's silly. Go ahead.
That's not silly. Because here's the thing. Every year we know somebody that is a team.
Yeah.
It's good one year, and then they're not good the next year.
You're correct. That's true.
Somebody goes
Sometimes
from worst to
multiple
first.
teams.
Multiple. You're like, what happened to that team? The NFL, I always say, if you want to lose your house, just bet on the NFL. You're like,
you're right.
Teams take L's like last year. Can you imagine? We looking at Kansas City like, man, they getting smoked. They should have lost to the Browns. They lost the next 3. We took a look at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was 13, 14, and 1, and then lost the rest of their games and got smoked by the Browns in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So,
but G, let me ask you this. Let me ask you. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to ask you this question. Like, who's the quarterback? Like, if Jacoby Brissett is the quarterback, how are they win? You're right. There's always teams that come out of nowhere, and there's always teams that you think are going to be good, and that could be the Bengals, that could be the Ravens, that could be the Chargers maybe. But like, are teams going to the playoffs now in the AFC with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback?
I look at it like this.
Yeah.
The 2 years the Cleveland Browns, the 1 year they went to the playoffs, Baker was great.
Right.
But the year that he wasn't particularly great in 2019 and 2021, they won 7-8 games.
I hear you. And there's a lot of teams with mediocre quarterbacks that win 7 or 8 games because most NFL games are close.
Yes.
Right?
So my thought process is this. Most games are close.
Yeah.
It comes down to a lot of different things. If
Yeah.
you got your roster where the Browns are in that mix.
Right.
I just watched the Browns last year with a quarterback off the street almost beat the Raiders. He didn't even, he's off the street. So my thing is, if you got 2 backs, we just talked about how good the running backs is. Now, granted, you're going to have to win some games that you shouldn't win, but it's not a stretch if you say the Browns win 10 games. I just saw
percentage chance they win 10 games with Jacoby playing every game.
It's probably 30.
Well, wait.
I think you're too high, but
got to
all
be
right.
at least 51% because you say they're going to win 10 and make the playoffs.
No, he didn't say that. He just said they got a chance.
I said they got
He didn't say they definitely do it.
So I thought we had a conversation before the show where I thought you said
You think they're? You
going
don't
10-7.
think they're definitely?
No,
gonna
no,
do
no,
I
it.
said,
no.
who says they're going to go 10
But
and 7?
30% is a legit shot. I think there's like a 5% chance.
I don't think. What I said is I don't. That's not out of the picture to win 10
So
games.
it's not crazy.
No, it's not
Especially
crazy.
not with Chubb scoring 15, 25 touchdowns, according to Jake.
You're
like
right.
the Bengals have a good roster too. If Joe Burrow gets hurt and doesn't play, they're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah, see, you're right. And the speculation.
That's how I see it.
Like, I
in
know
this AFC.
as far as this study, this report goes or whatever, I'm sure these guys are brilliant. I'm glad they're your friends. I'm sure they're great NFL minds. Whatever.
But be careful.
I'm sure they know their stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This exercise is completely pointless and
Yeah,
stupid.
You're
It
making
is
an assumption
completely
that they
speculative.
wanted to do this.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And I'm
Huge
not,
leap.
And I also know that I know that these are just fun exercises, and I get it. But trying to speculate the win-loss total of these football teams over the next 3 years while removing the element of the quarterback is a completely
And
insane
injury,
exercise.
and
injury.
retirement,
And
which
just
is why
falling off a cliff.
that's why I said
So,
it's akin to
I would
asking
love-
someone what the weather's going to be
Yes.
3 years
Yeah,
from
but
now. on a
we're
specific
discussing
day.
it really for this year. And I thought I agree with what you're
Well,
saying.
the study shouldn't be for 3 years if that's the case.
Sure, that's true.
1 year study might have made more
So
sense.
obviously, ESPN knows what's highly clickable.
Yes.
This is highly clickable, so much so that they're pushing their plus site, their pace
Yes.
site, with this headline on their NFL
that's
page.
what brings me to
Got
my
us
next
talking
point.
about it.
That's
I
it.
just
we
think,
took the
guys,
bait.
Exactly. That's
We
what brings
took
me
the
to my
bait.
next point.
Go ahead,
And
sir.
our next
Yeah.
point, my point is, we got to start cranking out these dumb reports that make no sense.
make
just
people pay
rank
for
it
it?
up, make people, not even make them pay for it. Just get
Yeah.
them sticky. Like put the right words in there and stuff like that. Make them controversial. Whatever we say doesn't have to make any sense.
That's the
We'll
internet
never be beholden
2022.
to
Top
whatever
10
we
massage
say.
therapists I've been to.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Stuff like
Yeah.
that. But no, we just do.
Jason, you sort of live in that world. I mean,
Yeah.
your business, your day job, is highly reliant on people seeing one of your headlines and deciding that they want to. It's window shopping. That you want to. That's what you use to get them in the door.
Yeah, it makes it's gross.
It is gross.
and it's
part of
funny
everything.
because I don't participate in that. I've talked to teams and listen, I don't play this game.
You don't either.
I will tweet something out one time and that's it.
Yep.
And sometimes when things get a perfect example is the last Brown story I wrote on Baker. I'm like, why is everybody talking about this? This isn't a big deal, you
Yeah.
guys. And I was the one trying to tamp it down, and I wrote the friggin' thing.
You know what, Jace? And this is I maintain this forever. When you're a good journalist and a good writer, you don't need tricks.
Yeah.
You don't need stupid hot takes. You don't need ridiculous clickbait headlines. People come to you now because of your body of work in
Yes.
the past. You're reputable. You're terrific at your job. And they know they're going to learn something when they read you.
Because you
All right,
don't
Jay,
post
let's not
those
overstate
alarms
Jason.
anyway.
His ego's big enough.
Give him the Pulitzer Prize.
Listen, here's what
I speak for many
appreciate
Clevelanders.
Here's what I did take from this column is that it shows you why it was so important for the Browns to go get Deshaun Watson. Because when you have all these teams in the AFC, we could debate how much you can predict 24, but nobody's debating that the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens, and
Throw the Raiders, in there. Throw the Chargers in
Raiders,
there.
Broncos.
even the Broncos
It's
with
a
Russell
gauntlet.
Wilson.
There's 7
There's a lot of
teams.
really good
Yes.
teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
Horrible.
There's 7 teams to me with really good quarterback play. I'm not going to call elite and all
Right,
that.
right.
7. By the way, that 7 does not include Tennessee, Pittsburgh, New England, and I'll throw Indianapolis in there because I like the Colts. I like
Well,
the
then it's 8.
organization.
If you're including Carr and Russell Wilson, it's 8.
Well, I am including Carr and Russell Wilson.
That's
Did
8.
did I miss? Did I?
Watson.
Are you including Watson?
Yeah.
Then that's 8.
Okay.
So that means there's only 3 garbage teams in the whole AFC.
But that's what
That's
we're
it.
saying.
The Jets and Jaguars have the top 2 picks of the draft last year.
Jets, Jaguars, and Texans.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you
Yeah.
got.
Because I mean,
Trash,
if you don't
that's
have
it.
a great quarterback, the teams that don't have a great quarterback are still great organizations. The Steelers, the Patriots. I wouldn't put the Colts in that category, but I like
they
the
got
They've
good
been a
players.
fairly consistent,
They have been.
competitive team.
And the Titans.
And they got a
are
good
the 1 seed.
roster. Titans have a good roster.
To your point
Yeah.
about you're using this exercise
Yeah.
as the reason why they had to go out and get Watson.
Yeah.
There's the quiet part that's never said out loud from organizations. I'm sure you've had members within organizations, maybe even the Guardians, that will tell you it's not just about your construction. It's about what's going on around
yeah.
you. There's been
Oh,
a
for
lot
sure.
of discussion over the last couple of days here in Cleveland. Juan Soto, do you give up the farm to get him? And part of that equation has to be, well, what's going on elsewhere in the American League? Does he make you better than the Yankees? Ultimately, that's the question that teams are asking. They don't talk about it publicly. You may have had conversations, I know I have, with general managers that are parts of teams that at the trade deadline, they're explaining off record why they're not going to be big buyers. That is a huge part of this equation. So as much as you can say you use this study or this exercise as to why you had to go get Deshaun Watson, there's also a case to be made where you have to ask yourself, and I think the Browns are much closer to that situation than the Guardians are you constituted around Watson to win it now over those 7 teams
Yes.
that are juggernauts.
And a peak example to exactly what you're talking about, different sport, was the Warriors in the NBA. There were
100%.
NBA teams that pulled back and said, we're not touching
Why
that.
would we make a move now?
But, and that's
We're
why the
gonna let
Browns
this
did,
play
because they
out.
are constituted to compete. And by the way, they ranked, these 4 guys from ESPN ranked the Browns 10th in quarterback, and the only reason they're that low is because we don't know
don't
when
know.
Watson's going to play.
They don't know.
And that even with that hanging over their 10th, the Carolina Panthers are 28th at quarterback. So
Yeah. Well, I will say this too. They're looking at 30 or 17 times 3, 51 games.
Right.
So they don't know what Watson's
Right,
going to
but-
miss, but they know that for the bulk of those 51 games, Deshaun Watson's going to be their guy.
Right, but I'm saying even with some unknown for this year, he's still
Yeah.
10th.
Sure.
Which I'm not saying he'd be 4th, but he
Right.
might be 7th.
Yeah.
Whatever. Whereas Carolina's 28th.
Well, they don't.
Now we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Past this year, you don't even know who the quarterback's going to be this year.
Right, but they could speculate in this that if Baker Mayfield's good, Carolina would keep him. Why
Let me
would
ask you
they?
guys-
But
let
they
me ask you
also,
guys a
if
question
he's
real quick.
good, they're probably not going to be able to keep him because they'll hit the free agent market, and
They could franchise him.
They could.
Let me ask you guys a question. Aditi
Yeah.
should hop on here any second, and we can bring her right in once she gets on. But taking out the quarterback, looking at the 4 AFC North teams, which roster in the NFC North do you like best minus the quarterback?
Still take the Bengals in a slight nod over ours.
It's.
Nah,
I think it's very close.
I do too.
if you
very
take,
close.
if you,
I would
you
actually
taking,
take the Ravens.
you taking the quarterback out?
You would.
Yeah.
No
I would.
quarterback. So Lamar Jackson, Deshaun
I'd still
Watson.
take the Ravens. Based on
Steelers
coaching,
situation,
culture,
and Joe
the
Burrow
running
out
backs
of the
being
equation.
healthy.
Are you
the
just
defense.
talking roster, not coach?
Yeah, just you
Just
said
the roster,
just the roster.
just the actual
Right.
talent
Just the
on
roster.
Because I'm with you. The culture
Give me-
and
yeah,
the coach
You can't
matter.
really separate that.
Give me the Browns. I'll take the Browns.
I would take the Browns by the smallest of hairs over the Bengals. To me, the Ravens are a fairly substantial third.
I'll
for
take
me.
the Browns. I won't give the Bengals that, but I think you're probably right.
But Joe Burrow's added to the Bengals. He's the star. He's
yeah,
the
yeah.
star.
He is the guy.
That's it.
He is the guy.
But if you look at the Browns, they got a top guy almost at every dang on position.
Right.
You know what's tough about our division? There's 5 of us, and there were 3 different answers to that question.
Yeah.
And you could have said the Steelers. Honestly, I think that
No, I'm not going Pittsburgh.
take the
Well, if you
quarterback.
take the
out,
quarterback
roster
out of
is
it.
talented. It's not like they're a scrub,
Pittsburgh's
though,
got
is
the
my
worst
No.
offensive line in the division.
Yeah, they've got holes, and I don't know that any of these other 3 teams in the conference have gaping holes.
Right.
They have the second best receiving core. I like Deontay Johnson, Claypool. I like them.
I like their receivers
The
too.
receivers is better than the
it's
Browns.
a big
Yeah.
drop. Yeah, but they're way behind the Bengals. That's a big drop off.
But they're still above the Browns.
I don't know that they're significantly ahead of the Browns.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Oh,
the
yeah.
Browns are closer to the Steelers than the Steelers are to the Bengals. Because Jamar Chase is way better than Deontay Johnson.
Not according to Madden.
Well, Madden, that's
Madden
absurd.
got that
That's
epically
ridiculous.
wrong.
I mean, Deontay Johnson
Is good.
Is
He
good.
ain't
He's
Jamar
good.
Chase.
No, he's not.
What's Baltimore's offensive line situation?
It's okay.
They're solid up front.
It's all right.
I don't know that.
Bengals offensive line got better this offseason.
Are we looking at the division, the construction of the division?
Yeah.
I think everybody is really quick to put the Steelers at the bottom of this division.
Because we want them to be there.
Because they have the worst quarterback
maybe-
situation.
I know,
Yeah.
but
They're
I'm
still the
telling you,
Steelers.
they're still the culture and the coach, and you
I
brought that
know,
up with the
absolutely.
Ravens. I have seen Mike
They haven't won a
Tomlin.
playoff game in a while.
I have seen but here's the thing with the Steelers, which drives me nuts. They never are at the bottom end of the talent cycle in
No,
the NFL.
no.
They're always 10 games, 11 games in the discussion. And I think this notion that you can start throwing dirt on their grave because Ben is gone and
Yeah.
other positions are weak and they're old.
Oh, it's time.
I'm very leery of doing that just
Yeah.
because it's Mike Tomlin, and I've seen them pull a rabbit out of a hat many
I
times.
get-
Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, but let's be realistic. Their offensive line stinks. Najee Harris is a good running back, but I don't buy that he's special. I don't know about you. I don't think he's special. I think he's good. And they got nobody else. They got no depth there, which I think is important at the position. Their top 2 wide receivers are good, but Chase Claypool to me is pretty good. He's all right, but they have nobody else. Their tight end's fine. Their defense to me is overrated. It's studs and duds on their defense. They got a few stars that are really, really good.
Really good.
And then they got some big holes on defense.
I think this just goes into what Jimmy Haslam is thinking, man. When you say, why would you do all this for Deshaun Watson? That's exactly what we said. He tired of taking them L's. I'm not going to let Big Ben retire right off into the sunset and still let another guy come in and beat me. That ain't happening.
Yeah, but this move wasn't made so they could be better than the Steelers.
No. They want to be. They want to get to the Super Bowl, but the process is the Steelers have always been. They won't die. You can't kill them.
How much of that was Ben Roethlisberger? How much of that was Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, in Mike Tomlin's time,
we're about to find out. Yep, we're about to find out.
And I'm thinking more about Bengals versus Browns on the roster besides quarterback. And I definitely, I said the Browns are better, and the more I think about it, the more I feel about that, because outside of wide receiver, I don't know where the Bengals are clearly better anywhere else. The Bengals are better at D tackle.
Safety.
They're much better at D tackle.
I like Bates.
But I don't know if Jesse Bates is going to play.
Pay
How
him.
many games do you think the Steelers win?
8.
I got them 8-9.
8, 9.
They get 8 wins.
I don't. I have no idea. I really don't. And it's really. I think Ben Roethlisberger was a bigger part of that than people realize. How much time, and I think that it was like having another coach on the field. I don't think he made any dumb moves.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be reminded. Remember what Mason Rudolph looked like with that team.
Yeah.
We're going to be reminded of
How good he was.
We're going to be reminded of what a rookie quarterback looks like if that kid plays this year.
Aditi, this is a perfect time to bring you in because we've been chewing on the Steelers, and I had mentioned.
Hoping they're bad.
Listen,
bad.
before we bring
We
in
have
our
a read.
guests, even when they are as special part of our family as Aditi, we have to let you know that they are being brought in by the Gridiron Guys hotline. Looking for a local roofer you can trust? Family owned since 2003, the Gridiron Guys have grown to become Northeast Ohio's top-rated roofers. We exemplify quality work practices, are a valued resource for homeowners, and offer a 10-year workmanship warranty. Call 330-573-7967 today for a free estimate or roof inspection. Aditi, thanks for joining us today. You're coming in at the perfect time of a conversation.
Mike, what happened?
I forgot.
What
My
happened?
Bad. My bad. Go.
Gridiron Guys.
That's what they pay for. That's what the Gridiron Guys pay for.
I'm so sorry.
That's the best. Yeah,
Trying to
you
get
can't
more
step
sponsors.
on that.
Yep.
Let's go.
Aditi, I brought up the point that some might be a little too anxious to throw dirt on the Steelers' grave.
I'm
now
anxious
that
to.
Ben is gone. I think the general consensus is they're going to be a team that hovers around 500, but not really a team that figures into the playoff race when it's all said and done. Are we onto something, or are we being a little too presumptuous?
You count out the Steelers at your own peril.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
doing
all I'll
it at
say.
my own
Every
peril.
time you think they're dead and done, Mike Tomlin pulls something out. And I will remind you, Duck Hodges.
He came up earlier in the show.
I
told him about Duck
Hodges
Dynasty.
as
Wait a
quarterback
second.
I told him about
and
him.
just missed the playoffs.
They-
Look, you look at the
They
Steelers
missed
right
it.
now.
I buried them, and they missed it. They missed the playoffs last year.
Okay, but again, let's talk about this year right now, okay? They missed the playoffs last year, but they were still in the conversation. They were still in it. What do you mean, wait, they missed the playoffs? They played the Chiefs. What are you talking about? They made the playoffs.
last year.
They made the playoffs.
Yeah,
What the hell am I talking about? You agreed with me.
Bull has to go in the penalty box for 2 minutes for misinformation.
That's 2 days
You have
in a
to go
row.
vegan for the next day.
I love Aditi's look on her face.
They were in the playoffs.
They didn't deserve it. They stink.
I literally didn't know what you were talking about.
You're in the.
Look,
You're in
That's
the
a bad
penalty
job
box.
out of me. That's a bad job out of me.
Guys, right
ahead.
now,
Yeah.
they have the highest paid defense in the NFL. They have a defense that is littered with first-round picks, and they have improved. They have playmakers. I would argue that there are 3 legitimate game breakers on that defense. Minka Fitzpatrick, no matter what Madden says, is one of the best safeties in the game, and he's certainly being paid like it. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, who doesn't get enough attention up front for eating up double, triple teams and opening everything for those outside rushers, for Watt and Highsmith. I like that Steelers defense a lot, and I really love that Terrell Austin and Brian Flores are in that room now. We know that Mike Tomlin calls the defense on game days, but when you have TA and Flores having input, and Flores has already improved the linebackers. The linebackers are already better with Miles Jack there. So you've got a great defense. They desperately needed to improve their offensive line. They ostensibly did. We'll see in camp how improved it is. We'll see at the start of the season how improved it is. But they actually invested in the offensive line. You expect Najee Harris to be better. And now they don't have necessarily as seasoned a quarterback as they did as Ben Roethlisberger, but they have 2 much younger, more athletic guys who actually fit what Matt Canada wants to do. So I think that just sitting here and saying, oh, Ben's gone, so they're going to be 7-10 or 8-9, like it's just, it feels like it's too easy to pat to do that. You actually have to look at the roster, look at what they have, look at who's on their coaching staff. And again, I do think that Mitch Trubisky is going to surprise some people. I think he's going to play much better than what you saw of him in Chicago.
But I don't think anybody's saying it because Roethlisberger retired, because he sucked the last 2 years anyway.
I'm saying that.
Yeah,
actually.
no, Mike did. Mike said, you know,
I'm not saying it.
Everybody says that Tomlin is the guy that always figures it out.
Tomlin's a great coach.
And Mike said, but Ben has always been there. And
I'm just saying we haven't seen them a full season.
They're never
without Ben
bad. I
Roethlisberger.
hear you.
Yeah.
They're never bad.
And until they do that, I feel like, you know, the pressure's on them.
Aditi, I said before that the Steelers are like studs and duds on defense. That's how I see it. Am I wrong?
Also a great men's clothing
wrong
store
about-
name.
Yeah, that's true.
By the way.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, where are you seeing a dud? Are you calling Devin Bush a dud because last year, the first year off of the surgery, he underachieved some?
I'm just not that impressed with their back seven outside of Minka Fitzpatrick at all. But I could be wrong. I don't follow
I mean, I think
as closely as you do.
I'm very curious about the corner play. I mean, I definitely want to see what happens. Although, look, Levi Wallace was tremendous in Buffalo. They kept trying to find somebody else to beat him out, and every year he was as good as he gets. And I've talked to the secondary coaches in Buffalo who rave about him. I think that, again, sometimes you need a fresh start. You need a new place to go. And I'm not saying that they are the kings of the division. Right now, I think it's the Bengals that you have to beat, okay? Obviously. But I also am not willing to write them off and say, oh, the Steelers are definitely going to have a bad year.
But
or
you
that
also,
the Steelers are definitely going to have a down year.
You understand why we're anxious to write them off, obviously, having been pummeled by them for so long. So as soon as we get the opportunity, we want to. Now,
these are my Twitter mentions every day. Is Browns fans and Steelers fans fighting with each other constantly. I mean, it feels like
beautiful
pleasure in ripping on
it's like
Steelers
Israel and
fan,
Palestine.
or Browns fans actually getting the game sometimes.
But Aditi, you just scared us for a good 5 minutes, reminding us about a bunch of the great Steelers and how good they have the potential to be. My question is, can you now make us feel better by telling us some of their weaknesses that you're scared of, just to kind of balance out how I'm feeling right now?
Well, you definitely need it. I mean, the linebacker play in the run defense was atrocious. I started saying horrible. It's worse than horrible. Atrocious a year ago. Now, part of it, I think, is that the Steelers just sold out to stop the pass. They weren't really committed to the run game. I think that they were super hurt by not having Tyson Alualu, their big run stuffer, in the middle, and not having Stephon Tuitt. So now you've got Alualu back. They have some defensive ends that they feel a little bit better about. So let's see what happens there. And their inside linebacker play, which obviously – everything in football is a puzzle, right? It's how it fits together. So TJ Watt was so great, and people questioned how good is he just because Bud Dupree is on the other side. Similarly, the inside linebackers had a very tough task when that defensive front wasn't so great. Now let's see, can Devin Bush play better? He's that first rounder that Kevin Colbert traded up for. That was a bit disappointing a year ago. But now he's a full year off of that knee surgery. And I was just talking to Bud Dupree about this. It does take a full year. That first year back, you're not necessarily 100%. So Devin Bush is playing for a contract. Devin Bush is playing knowing that he's completely doubted. And Devin Bush is also playing next to Miles Jack, who, by the way, is an improvement over Joe Schobert. So you would like to think that the inside linebacker play is better. And then, of course, we want to see what happens
we
at
wouldn't
corner.
like to think
No,
that.
that's
This
not what we
division.
would like to hear at all.
What's
or
crazy
think.
is even when Mike asks Aditi to point out their deficiencies so
Yeah.
we feel better, she puts such a positive spin on it, I feel worse. Here's where they're weak.
Don't sweat it.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
sweat it. The Steelers
I
will
mean,
win
that's
8 games this year. We'll be fine.
I hate that.
That did not scratch that itch, Aditi, that I needed right there, telling me bad
The
things.
Steelers have the worst quarterback situation in the AFC besides the Texans.
Don't matter.
So they'll be all right.
Doesn't matter. Here's the problem.
Disagree.
Didi. Here's the problem. They taking things out of consideration. They're not even factoring this in. I'm 40, right? And for my whole life, you know what I've seen?
Steelers kicking ass.
I've seen the Steelers come in here, knock your players unconscious. I've seen the Steelers come in
Take
here.
cheap shots. The cheap shot king.
Kick your punter in the face.
Kick your punter in the face.
Yeah, kick the punter in
Wave
the
their
face.
towels in your stadium.
Yes.
And the Cleveland Browns have been walking around like Boy Scouts. Oh, we're gonna
kick their ass.
We're gonna have great sportsmanship, and we're gonna get Jason Trusnick, and we're gonna.
What about Myles Garrett when he beat the crap out of the great Kazoo? Everybody was people were criticizing him.
That's one time.
That was a weak hit, too.
That's one time.
It
you
was.
got one game off.
It glanced him.
I
did
need
glance.
this year, to be truthful, Big Ben then left. I need the Cleveland Browns to establish something.
They got to kick their ass.
They got to. I think this is the biggest because the first 4 games, the Steelers game is the one game that it is could be an L if you play around. Because that game, they're going to already come in here with their defense. They're going to come ready to play. My question to you, Aditi, is do the Browns have to establish something past Big Ben? Because, that record, I got tired of seeing the graphic. What is he, 101 or something? He had more wins than any other quarterback in our stadium than our starters.
I think Baker finally passed him last year.
He was all-time winner. We got to do something.
You know what?
So embarrassing.
Baker edged him out.
In a real rivalry, those games count double. You know they're division games, so they count more. In general, it doesn't matter. I think if you are an AFC North team and you win 13 games, but you lose twice to your rival, then I think the season still has a pall on it, basically. And you're right. You do need to establish something. But I have a question for you, G. Why are you so down on the Steelers quarterback situation, and Adam too?
Oh, no,
when
I'm not.
you know that Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett are available, but you're just completely ignoring the import of the quarterback position to the Cleveland Browns.
No.
Yeah, but that's just temporary with the Browns.
Like, that's
How
why I like
temporary?
it. If you
How
take Jacoby
temporary?
Brissett,
Great question. Do you know? No.
hey,
I told you guys this on Monday. Nobody knows. All we're hearing is spin from both sides.
You're
I'm telling
right.
you this. Sue Robinson is not leaking anything. So
With
no.
Brissett, the Browns have the worst quarterback situation in the AFC besides Houston.
right.
So I agree, but that we know that's temporary. Even if it's just 1 year, we know by next year they'll have a great quarterback. The
But we're talking about this year.
I know
We're
that,
talking about
but the
this year.
Steelers' quarterback situation for this year is definitely one of the worst in the AFC. The Browns is only definitely the worst if Watson doesn't play.
See, I disagree. Are you sure that the Jets situation is better?
I'm not
You think
sure.
Kyle Wilson is better than Mitch and Kenny?
Not really, but I'm sure the Jets wouldn't trade Zach Wilson.
You want me
for
to
those
keep
guys.
going?
No, you can give me the
Oh,
Jaguars.
wouldn't or would?
What's that?
No, wait.
I
You
don't
don't
think
think that Doug Peterson is fixing Trevor Lawrence?
I would definitely rather have Trevor Lawrence than what the Steelers have, 100%. I don't think anybody would rather have the Steelers quarterbacks than Trevor Lawrence. You'd rather have those guys
Okay.
than Trevor Lawrence?
I like this take. Go
No,
ahead,
I'm not
DDD.
saying that, but you mentioned the Jaguars, so I was like, wait, where are we going with that one?
No, yeah, I'm saying like the Jaguars and the Jets don't have great quarterback situations at the moment, and I actually am not a believer in Zach Wilson, so maybe I'd even give you 14th instead of 15th. But there's no other team that you like. What other team would you rather have has a worse quarterback situation than the Steelers, except for maybe the Jets?
I just think that we're kind of undervaluing what. I think we're just underselling what the Steelers are going to get out of that position.
Well, see, the Mitch Trubisky thing is tough, Aditi, just because I think in the NFL, out of sight, out of mind, and because he was backing up all last year in Buffalo, people have forgotten, and this is one part of the reason why I'm not so quick to throw dirt on the Steelers. People have forgotten that Mitch Trubisky had a Pro Bowl year.
Okay, but who's he better than
with
besides
nobody
maybe,
around him? You know what? In this system, we just don't know. He's a great.
And that's the point.
Was
Jay,
Baker
that's
Mayfield
exactly
any good? Was Doc Hodges any
We
good?
don't know how he's going to play in this offense with Mike Tomlin. We don't know.
And with the year that he had under Brian Daboll in Buffalo. And again, I just think he's in so much a better situation. We all know this. When you're in a workplace where you feel valued, where you feel you fit, where you feel that the coordinator listens to you and is playing to your strengths, it just makes a difference. And it translates beyond what you've seen before. And so, it's funny. Mike Tomlin teases me all the time about asking feelings questions. But you know what? Football is not black and white. It's not all clear. Like sometimes there are gray things that affect the way that you play. And I think that Mitch Trubisky is right now in an ideal situation. And I fully expect Mitch Trubisky to start the season. But I'm also not writing off the possibility that Kenny Pickett just completely, totally blows him out of the water in training camp.
And
We don't
Aditi,
know. We're going to see.
I don't disagree that if Trubisky is going to have success, Pittsburgh is one of the very few places I think it could happen. I don't disagree with you at all. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. It's a great system. They are winners. I understand that. However, the Steelers don't even fully believe in Mitch Trubisky. Otherwise, they wouldn't have drafted Kenny Pickett. If they were 100% certain about Trubisky, Teams with good quarterbacks in their 20s don't draft quarterbacks in the third round.
Well, sure, but we've always known that Mitch Trubisky was kind of a patch, right? Isn't that why they offered him a 2-year deal at essentially backup money? It was like, okay, well, this is a good guy to give a flyer to, and we don't know that he's necessarily our franchise quarterback. And look, It was Kenny Pickett that the Steelers loved. If Kenny Pickett was not available at 20, they weren't taking Desmond Ridder or Malik Willis. They were ready to go ahead and ride with Mitch Trubisky. It was that Kenny Pickett was there at 20, and they wanted him, and they thought that was their chance. Okay, great.
And I think I just screwed up again and said third
did,
round
third
for Kenny
round.
Pickett.
Yeah.
But I'm on a roll. I'm on a roll.
Fake news
but
over here.
But,
Fake news.
But ultimately, in the end, like, I can't go crazy about Mitch Trubisky when they just drafted a quarterback because they don't think he's good enough. Right? I mean,
but nobody's saying you have to. Again, a football team is a sum of your parts. So what we're sitting here is saying
but the quarterback
this could be
is the
a
most
completely
important part.
lights out defense, but this could be the top scoring defense in the NFL. This could be a defense that scores, that makes, as Mike Tomlin calls, splash plays regularly, a defense that really contributes to the scoreboard. So you've got that. This is a team that can run the ball really, really well. And I know earlier you were talking about the run game and how much Nick Chubb should run and what that says, et cetera, et cetera. But in the AFC North, if you establish the line of scrimmage, if you establish the run game, that opens up everything else. And you've also got a young wide receiver who's got some game-breaking ability in Deontay Johnson, who's never had the ability to really play with a quarterback who can make things consistently happen downfield. And so now let's see what happens. And I'll tell you, I really like those two young wide receivers too, George Pickens and Calvin Austin.
I'm terrified of the Steelers
think
now.
Oh my God, you guys are gutless. You're a gutless bunch amongst you.
I got scared too.
Mike, maybe they'll fall on their faces, and maybe you'll get to cackle. I'm just saying, you write them off at your own peril.
I'm with you. I'm with you, Aditi. I'm with
I
you.
agree. Quick follow-up, though. When Ben is inducted into the Hall of Fame, should there be an asterisk on his plaque that says that 20% of his wins were against the Browns and the Bengals? Because I feel like it should. Isn't that fair? He racked them up through the 2000s.
Don't you feel like that's the greatest statement, though, on the competitor he is?
Yeah.
That the Ohio native, who was passed up by his home state team, stuck it to that home state team every single year.
Yeah, it's fun to hear it out loud.
Yeah,
It's real fun to hear it.
That's who petty he is.
Yeah,
Good times.
That's true. Yeah.
Aditi, Mike asked just a question right before you came on, and now I'm curious to get your response on it. If you remove quarterback position, who has the best roster in this division? I said the Ravens, and I was the only one who said the Ravens. Would you lean Steelers?
I think I would still go Browns.
Okay.
I know that Now, I think there's some big question marks here, right? Because I don't know the Bengals' offensive line, and I don't know the Steelers' offensive line. They both desperately had to improve, and they both made some investments this offseason in their offensive line. Until I actually see those groups of five together, I have to say that the Browns have the best offensive line.
Yeah, was that so hard?
Is it hard?
No, I just wanted to hear something positive about the Browns. I was just happy to hear something positive about the Browns.
Yeah. No, but I mean, if it's true, it's true. It's not like I come on the show and lie or talk.
I know you don't, Aditi. You give us the truth, and sometimes it hurts.
You give us the truth.
I'm not very good at that. I'm not
don't
good at rabble-rousing. I feel like being a hot take artist. I'm a crappy liar.
Is defense? What's the position group that the Steelers are best in the division? I think the only one that could be would be defensive line. There can't be anything else, right?
I like their D-line a lot. I mean, and you've got the addition of Ogunjobi, who I think is one of the most underrated players in the NFL.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yep.
But I think Alex Highsmith, the young player who plays on the other side, TJ Watt plays one end and Highsmith plays the other at outside linebacker. I do think that he's about to have a monster year, and I think that TJ is ready to have another killer year. I like their pass rush. I really do. And I just think that their pass rush has helped so much by having Cam Hayward up there, and will be helped even further by having Tyson Alualu there back as well. So I think, and I know that this will hurt, and I'm sorry, of course, I think Myles Garrett and Clowney are great, but I might like the Steelers' defensive front right there.
Well, the Steelers got better tackles than the Browns do.
They're both really good up front.
Yeah, and
the Bengals are good up front too.
Yeah.
They are good up front, but I don't think
a ton of potential, but they're still young. We haven't seen it. when you look at running back, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, obviously, I mean, that's the best
Way better,
running back
yeah.
tandem. That's the best running back room in the entire in the entire league. Forget the division. But it's hard to say, I think Mixon is great. I think Najee Harris is great. And J.K. Dobbins is pretty darn good before he was hurt, too. So I think that everybody's going to run the ball well. Wide receiver.
Yeah, the Bengals are number one by a lot.
I mean, you have to say the Bengals have the best wide receivers, right?
Yeah,
tight
yeah.
end. We already went through tight end. And Joko has to show me a lot.
Yeah,
He's
but
got to show me a
Baltimore's the
lot.
best
I
there.
like
Baltimore has
Mark
the best
Andrews
tight
and Pat
end.
Freiermuth more.
Right, Baltimore's
Yeah, I like
Baltimore's
both
got the
Andrews and
best.
Freiermuth more right now.
What we're saying, this is all very
So-
depressing. We play in the best
Why
conference,
is it
in the best
depressing?
division,
It's
because
just-
this division
it's
is
exciting.
so
Unbelievable.
It's exciting, but
It's
But isn't that
Unbelievable.
part of the fun?
yeah, it's great. The
Great
games
games
are
every week.
great, but I would so much rather we play in a division that
AFC
had
South.
three other 6 and
Bring
11.
on the South.
We need
Yes, put
Okay,
us
but
in
You
the
need an
what's
eight.
fun
We
about
got that for
that?
baseball, the AL Central.
Winning is fun,
I know, but
Aditi.
that's like when the Patriots were beating up on the Little Sisters of the Poor every single year. I mean, it was boring. How
Yeah,
were
but they
those
were so
Sundays
fresh.
fun?
But
Aditi-
weren't the playoffs fun when the Steelers did that to the Browns twice every single year?
Yeah,
Didn't
they
you
weren't
have fun in the
complaining that
playoffs
this was no
afterwards?
fun.
This is boring.
And to your point, Aditi, about the Patriots, because they played in such a weak division, it didn't take, it wasn't death by a million cuts. When they got to the playoffs, their path to the playoffs was so easy because they had garbage in their division,
And they had a higher seed.
and they were a higher
Because
seed.
they got to
and-
pile up
and
wins
They
against
racked
them.
up a lot of
Yeah,
Super
but they
Bowl
weren't
rings playing in that
necessarily
crappy
playoff
division.
tested. I mean, think about all the teams that, we've seen in recent years, wild cards. We've seen in recent years
happened,
those teams that won all those road games go and win the Super Bowl.
The Bengals
Packers
just went
did
to
it
the Super
twice.
Bowl
can
as a
happen.
wild card, yeah.
It can happen. I'm just saying, to me, winning is fun, so it'd be a lot more fun if we were in the AFC South.
They got to go take it.
Well,
You
look,
can't just-
I do really like the Browns roster. We already established this on Monday. The Browns are built to win right now. So whatever happens
Absolutely.
at the quarterback situation, at the quarterback position, I do think that they are, in fact, built to win. And, I mean, it just feels like we're so antsy for training camp to start, right?
Oh, gosh.
Like, how much more can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Let's just see what actually happens on the field and talk about what we're really seeing.
McNuggets wants in with a question.
It'd be fun to report an injury.
So within the last few minutes, it's being reported that Kyler Murray has signed a massive extension with the Arizona Cardinals.
That's a huge
Ties him
mistake.
I think it's a
to
mistake,
Arizona for 5 to 6 years. My question for you guys and Aditi.
Do we know a number?
No number yet, but that's my question.
Yeah, I wanna
Do
see
we
it.
think it's fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson's contract was? Aditi, I'll let you start.
I don't think so.
I don't
I'm going
either.
to guess no.
By the way, we keep saying that Deshaun Watson had the first guaranteed contract. Didn't Kirk Cousins get the first guaranteed contract?
Yes.
And
It's the
unlike
first
Deshaun Watson, he's a mediocre player.
I think his was the first that was the highest, that was the biggest number in the NFL. He's the highest paid player. And
You know what's
it's
so
all
funny
guaranteed.
is how. You know what's so funny? The NFL is right now in the sports world. There are only two sports that are seeing viewership and ratings and fan engagement growing, and that's Formula One and the National Football League. And yet we get so unbelievably hot and bothered by NFL players getting these fully guaranteed contracts. What
you,
about Major
Aditi.
League Baseball?
I agree.
Listen,
you.
I don't get hot
I
and
agree.
bothered at all.
Comparisons to what a baseball player makes versus
Sure.
what an NFL player makes, and maybe we can just say this is the reckoning that players deserve at this
It's
point.
about time. I don't
Yes.
think
This is
anybody's hot and bothered by it.
Well, I just feel like people are just so bent out of control, and you constantly hear this storyline, whether it's true or not, that the league is angry at the Haslams and owners are angry at the Haslams. Maybe the Haslams are the first ownership group actually doing right by the players that play the game.
Grab that clip.
Maybe.
Please,
I mean, just
please.
throwing it out.
That's a dope line.
Send it to the
It's
Haslams.
not a conversation. Look, let me just say really quickly before I'm accused of being an apologist for Dee and Jimmy Haslam. It's not a conversation that I've ever had with them. I have no idea if it was anything more than we just really want Deshaun Watson and this is what it's going to take. I don't know that there was a bigger statement in doing it. I'm just kind of saying we as fans, we as media people, we get so up in arms. How could you give this huge guaranteed contract to somebody, especially somebody who has potential baggage or who does have baggage? Well, why aren't the players saying it's about time that we get fully guaranteed contracts?
It's about time they caught up
when our
with the other
brethren in
leagues.
the NBA and our brethren in Major League Baseball are getting those guaranteed
Absolutely.
contracts.
That's why I don't know that it's so much up in arms.
I got the
it
info.
was shocking.
I got the Kyler Murray info. It is not fully guaranteed. Kyler Murray's extension with the Cardinals, 5 years, $230.5 million. By the way, Deshaun Watson's was $230 million even, so it's $0.5 million more over 5 years.
Not by accident.
Right. That's exactly right.
$160 million guaranteed.
Man,
That's all?
By the way, I'd much rather have Deshaun Watson at $230 guaranteed than Kyler Murray at $160 guaranteed
Absolutely.
any day
I
of the
think
week.
that's a huge
Kyler
mistake.
Murray bailed on his teammates last year. Kyler
And he
Murray bailed on his
collapses
teammates
at the end of every year,
final
Kyler Murray.
game. Colt McCoy, you know what? Colt McCoy yelled at him and said, "You will regret this. You get back in that game," and he didn't go back in that game against the Rams.
Colt McCoy yelled at
You know how they always have these lists? Like we talk about these lists all the time of like the best quarterback coach combos. I think Kyler Murray and what's the schmo who's the coach there?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff
His name is
Kingsbury.
Cliff.
But he's good. He's
Kyler
good
Murray's
enough-
good, not great.
He's good.
He
and
and
he's
his
a-
coach. The
and he's a
coach never did
quarterback.
anything in college. I don't know how he got an NFL job.
They don't
He's
want
friends with Sean
Because
McVay.
he's got a hot wife and he's friends with Sean McVay. I think that's
They
it.
do
I
not
don't
want
know.
to go back to purgatory, so any good quarterback is going to get the bag.
I guess.
Aditi, we hate to have you leave all
And I'm
of
glad
this.
he got paid. Good for him. I just don't think he's that good.
But we know we only have you for a limited time. Thank you for
Sorry.
joining us. No, it's okay.
No,
we
I'll
appreciate
be
you.
in Cleveland. I'll be in Korea in a few weeks, so hopefully I get to come and you can clear a chair for me.
That'd be wonderful.
See you there.
Consider it done.
Yep.
Between Mike and Jason.
I'll just leave now.
Yeah.
CJ,
No,
thank you for all the
Bye,
positive
guys.
Steelers spin.
Bye,
Bye.
Yeah.
see you soon. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, good for Kyler Murray for getting paid.
Yeah, I'm always for guys.
I
getting
never
paid.
begrudge when guys
I
get
wouldn't
paid.
make that deal.
I just,
I wouldn't make
and
that
I get what
deal.
G's saying. Ultimately, if you,
But
what else are you gonna do?
It's not like they had.
What else are you gonna do?
He's
I
right.
I know.
Did you
That's
have
where
a
we
better
are
option? No.
I think
You
it's
don't have a
hilarious.
choice, though. You have to pay these guys.
It
Got
sucks.
to, yeah. I mean, because it's quarterback purgatory.
Yeah.
You don't know what's out there. I love the fact that it's 230.5.
You know,
That is petty LeBeau.
That is.
You're telling your agent, I'm not signing this until it's 500,000 more.
Yep.
What's the difference? 500,000.
They should have made it $1.
I was
Guys
like
have
his
done
price
that.
is right.
Guys have done
230
that.
million and one.
Guys have done that.
I was trying to get divorced way earlier. I didn't have no better option, bro.
Right. Yeah,
What
there
you
you
gonna
go.
do? Just hang out.
I
Wow,
still
Wow, you
love-
just admitted that on live
Hang
TV
tight.
or
I
streaming.
I never heard that Colt McCoy yelled at him, which is just hilarious to me. Had you heard that?
No.
Y'all get back in there. You know?
Colt McCoy.
Y'all
Hey,
better
Colt
get back
McCoy
in
is
there.
like the backup in the NFL.
He is.
Man.
Old Yeller.
When the guys all said, like,
That's how he talked.
He's easy to laugh at, obviously.
Yeah, I love
But
to.
when it's all said and done, he's going to ride off into the sunset.
course.
We just talk about
Backup
bag.
quarterback,
That
best-
guy's going to have
best
10
kid.
bags, and he's going to.
Nobody's got in the bag more than Chase Daniel. That guy's made it. He's barely played in the
Yeah.
NFL.
Wow.
He's made a ton of money as a
I
backup.
found somewhere at the Dollar Tree, one time at Dollar Tree, Colt McCoy's autobiography. I forget what it's called, but it's fantastic. It is the most boring autobiography I've ever read in my life.
You
There's
sent me the
not,
text.
You read
Tell
it?
us,
Yeah.
tell us
Oh,
the
yeah.
most controversial thing in there.
There is not one tantalizing bit of information in it. It's all about him just like his workout routine and stuff. And then at one point he's like, one summer I had to do it. I made a hard choice and I gave up drinking soda pop. And that was really what he was hooked on. That was
Oh
his
my
like
What
it's
really
like
impresses me
cocaine.
is you read it.
I
Yeah.
read the whole thing.
I feel like Mike goes to the dollar store just to find things like that.
100%.
Right?
Absolutely.
I would-
I've been
so
to the
awesome.
dollar store
Yeah.
with Mike before.
I would like to go with Mike
And
to the
some of
dollar
the stuff
store.
that he decides to take
we
to
should
the
all
counter,
take a
I'm
trip
like,
to the
Mike,
Dollar
yes,
Tree and the
yes.
thrift store
Yes.
together. Yeah.
Let's do that.
He's got the most epic old school hi-fi for like you guys don't
Yeah.
even know what that word is.
Yeah.
But
We
we
got
were
to know
at
what word is. I'm 51 years old.
you do, but I guarantee you, G. Bush is like hi-fi.
Yeah.
So, back in the day, bro, they used to have floor. It was furniture. It was a piece of furniture.
Cabinet record player.
And it had like a turntable, an 8-track player, and a receiver.
Oh, my
with
dad had-
huge floor model speakers.
My dad had one of
Yeah,
those.
and it was
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
hi-fi sound.
Yep.
So Mike and I were at the store, and he goes, "Gotta have this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Explain that to me." He goes, "I'm gonna paint the sucker turquoise blue. It's gonna be an awesome piece." And I kind of was like, "Okay, let's get it." But
yeah.
it looks awesome.
Sounds good too. And it was originally supposed to be for the station for a thing, but
It was.
then COVID broke out. I'm like, well, I guess it's mine now. So I just kept it.
Did you expense it?
It's like
Oh yeah,
free high-five.
100%. Yeah,
It's like
free
who
high-five.
winning
stands
now?
at keeping the massaging chair.
Same
in
thing.
Right? There you
Exact
go.
same thing.
Dick,
Yeah.
Can we get some B-roll of you going thrift shopping?
We have it. We
Yeah.
have it.
Right.
I'll wear a
Oh,
GoPro.
I gotta see it.
I went.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
spent
my
a day with
God,
Mike
that's
and a
great.
camera
Yeah.
crew.
It's worth it.
shopping at it was wonderful. It was.
It's half
know what
off
else?
blue ticket day.
In
They
that
don't- I know those.
same vein, I'd like to see Mike Polk shopping at Walmart midnight on a Saturday in like Alabama.
Oh yeah, that'd be perfect.
I mean, that'd be the greatest thing ever.
Just go to Steelyard Commons. It's pretty much the same thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Mike's his stand-up,
Lost
he
another
does a whole
sponsor.
stand-up bit on the Walmart at Steelyard Commons, which will
are you
absolutely
performing
leave you
next?
in tears.
I'm actually this Friday, actually.
Wait.
Should have
plug-
mentioned that.
Plug it.
Or
Go
wait,
ahead.
no,
Yeah.
next Friday.
Next Friday. At?
Pickwick and Frolic.
Awesome.
Sure.
That's my place. I go there often.
There you go.
You will not regret it if you go see Mike. It's a very, very entertaining
I wouldn't
show.
promise that.
He always likes to set the bar low, but he always jumps over it. The other thing on the shopping trip that we learned, Mike has this. It's a skill. He can look at vintage pieces and automatically detect which one he can buy and make cool and which one is vintage and it's trash.
Sure. My parents had a furniture store, so it's like my mom had really good taste and stuff, and so she could walk through a place and be like, even like a real new furniture store, she's like, crap. Plywood. Good. She'll like look at the label in a drawer. She's like, this is a Dickensie. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But yeah, some of that
It's in
did
your
pass
blood.
down. Yeah, a little bit.
Top five crap stores. They're like, we can do that tomorrow.
What's your store? Your go-to store?
I like Value World. I like Savers. Savers does a half price Monday. I recommend. They have a branch in. They have one on Brook Park Road, and then they have one on the near west side. And then but I love Habitat, that Restore.
Yep, that's a
which
good
is the one on 110.
Yeah, that's where we went.
Yep,
right?
that's one of my favorites too. But that's like more housing stuff.
Yeah,
and,
like fencing. You get some good bricks there.
Right,
Like,
you
if
need
lay
like
in
10
pavement-
bricks.
I've never heard of any of these places.
Yeah, that's
my mom is that's what she does.
Oh, says the man is driving a Benz.
Cinder blocks. I know. So,
Top five, I guess, right?
It is time for top five. I would
Top
love to
five.
see top five one time from Mike Polko, the 5 best things he's ever bought at a thrift shop.
Oh yeah, we'll do that.
Great.
Maybe we can do that in the future, and if
Shield.
we do,
I got some
The
pictures.
Shield was fantastic.
it'll be brought to you by Roundstone Insurance.
Of course it will.
Roundstone offers a better alternative for affordable quality health care. For more than a decade, Roundstone Insurance has been saving small and mid-sized businesses money, an average of 20%. 20%. Contact us to learn how you can get great health care benefits that your employees will love and save money too.
Bull is warming
Mama
up.
was a round stone.
I know. He was warming
You
up
gotta
beforehand.
give me the second verse, dog.
I can't remember the next verse of that song. I can't.
Wherever he left
Mama
his hat
was a
his
round
home.
stone.
I don't think that's very flattering.
Bull, you just insulted your mother.
My mother's skinny as a rail and tiny. My mom's like 4'11", probably like 90 pounds.
Bull, never change. Don't ever change. I know you won't.
My
but-
sister's even smaller. She's like 4'10", 90 pounds.
Wow.
Lord.
I don't fit.
Okay.
We gotta have a question. What
Top
happened,
five.
Yeah, right.
is-
So after yesterday's backward score debacle with our
Yeah.
good friend Anthony, we decided to do the 5 best Anthonys of all time.
Oh,
Except
good.
then we realized there was too many Anthonys to choose from. So today we're
Anthony.
doing the 5 best Anthony athletes of all
Okay.
time.
Oh,
All right.
First or last name?
Both.
Okay.
Oh.
because I was going to
Plot
say
twist.
Carmelo's got to be in there.
Anthony
Okay.
Parker's
Carmelo
gotta
is
be
on
there,
here.
right?
We'll get to
Anthony
Carmelo.
Mason.
All right,
Well, don't name them all, guys. He's gonna do them.
yeah,
Go
let's
ahead.
get to number 5. Anthony Booger.
He's not Anthony. He's
Yes, he
Booger.
counts. He counts. 23.5 sacks, Super Bowl champion.
That's bad.
He
Top
goes
5
by
Boogers
Booger.
next
May
time.
have been higher, but he goes by Booger, not Anthony, so he lost Anthony points.
Okay.
Good.
I was-
I get it.
terrible.
Yep, that's true.
I didn't even know that was his name, actually. I didn't even know.
I was in Tampa when he got drafted, and everybody went nuts. Why is your name really Booger?
What is real quick origin story on that?
His sister, it was a nickname that his sister gave him somehow.
And he stuck with it.
I think she was trying to call him brother, but was calling him Booger.
Okay.
So I can't remember. He's told me the story before, but I think it's something like that. Okay, 4.
So this guy would have been higher had he fully embraced the Anthony name.
Oh.
He went by a nickname. It takes away the Anthony points that came to the highly generated algorithm for this list.
If you have
Let's
to
take
explain it this much, it can't be good.
Let's take it. Tony Hawk.
No, stop it.
Wait a minute.
He's not Anthony. He's Tony.
Yes, he is. He is an Anthony.
Well, of
This is
course,
a
on his
tricky
birth
stipulation.
certificate, he's Anthony.
but Tony Romo's Antonio. He's not an Anthony.
This is all tricky. These are weird little qualifiers.
Yeah, I was hoping that the number
next
5
three-
and number 4 guys we would have known as Anthony.
This
The
opens
next
it
3
up
are
to
real
Tonys now.
Anthonies. The next 3 are real Anthonys, but Tony Hawk, as a real Anthony, had to be on this list.
I understand.
Okay.
A lot fewer Anthonys that played sports than I thought, by the way. We'll get to those in a sec. All right, let's take the next one. We mentioned it before. Carmelo Anthony would have been higher, but he can't win the big one. The next 2 did win the big one. That's why they're ranked higher.
Okay.
Got it. Yeah, no arguments. Still
Take it.
playing.
Let's go a little boxing. How about Anthony Joshua? Multiple-time WBC
Never even heard of
heavyweight
him.
champ.
I meant who?
Bull said he's never heard of him.
Never heard of him.
Bull, he's like probably the second most famous boxer in the world right now.
Nobody gives a
Right
crap.
now.
Right now, yeah.
But
right.
the problem is the sport is nowhere near where it used to be.
Boxing ain't been hot since cycling. Like, literally, that's race around a track.
Well, hey, 100 years ago, the two most popular sports in the United States were boxing and horse racing.
We have a friend named
And
Jason,
baseball,
Jason
but,
Heron who
yeah.
loves boxing more than
seriously,
anything.
Number 1 and number 2 were
And,
boxing.
no, our friend Jason loves it, and we love just mentioning, yeah, but UFC's more popular now, and that nothing makes a boxing fan mad
I know.
than mentioning
I know.
UFC.
But it is wildly outpaced
I
boxing.
know. They get
Immensely.
defensive, though.
Yeah. Okay.
So honorable mentions who didn't make it: Anthony Rizzo, Anthony Edwards.
Ooh.
Here's number 1 though.
Anthony Rizzo better than all the guys you mentioned so far.
Anthony Davis.
All right. Wow.
NBA champ.
Who
Got
was
the
number
single
2
biggest
again?
haul in any trade in NBA
Boxer.
history.
Anthony Joshua.
Wait, that's
There you
a
go.
terrible
5 best
list.
athlete Anthony's of all time.
Car-
Undisputed list.
Carmelo Anthony
Undisputed.
is too.
I mean,
No one knows who Anthony Joshua is.
first of all, this
Just
list
because
is
y'all don't know who he is.
If
doesn't
we're
mean he's not a
counting
great
Tony's, then there's an easy number 1, and you left it out.
Who?
Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
But was he an Anthony?
Yes.
Are
Of
you
course
sure? I did a lot of research on the best Anthony athlete list of all time. He didn't
let's
pop up on a
Wikipedia.
single one.
Call Anthony. Call it up.
I'm pretty sure. I'll
What
double
about
check.
Carl Anthony Towns?
Tony
Bum.
Gwynn.
Bum.
Well, it is in his name.
I know it's out of category, but I would like to throw in the band Tony for consideration, just because of the extreme Toniness of their
Google
names.
Tony Gwynn. Here we go. Tony Gwynn.
Keith
Anthony
Gwynn Sr.
Anthony Keith Gwynn Sr. On his Wikipedia, it says Anthony.
I'm seeing Keith Gwynn. I'm not seeing Anthony Gwynn.
Are you looking at his Wikipedia?
I'm looking at
Careful with
baseballreference.com.
Wikipedia. Yeah, careful with Wikipedia.
You think Wikipedia is wrong?
It
If
could
you guys
It
are
won't be
just,
the first time.
If you guys are just tuning in, Bull and our producer are trying to look up and see whether Tony Gwynn's name is actually Anthony or something else.
Where else are you going to get this?
Where are you going to get this footage?
Thankfully, nowhere.
What are
Roundstone,
they-
thank you.
If you listen to the radio right now, it's 12 minutes of commercials. So what do you know, who the hell wants that?
I'm kidding. I would watch this all
Well, at
day.
least it's a chance to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I see Keith on 2 websites. I don't see Anthony, but we'll put him as an honorable mention. But we
Well,
got one
honorable
more
mention?
legitimate topic we got to get to here, Bull, because this was
And
a
Anthony
huge
Rizzo
special.
better than all those guys.
Rizzo's not, but
Stop it.
this is a Bull special.
Yeah.
You want to take it, Bull? The 3 Cleveland teams?
Yeah,
The
this
playoff
is yours.
tidbits, history?
So I the other day, I don't know why this came up. I think maybe G mentioned the other day. He's like, I don't know if all 3 teams can win at the same time, right? Was that you that said that?
I said I don't think all 3 teams can be supported because
okay,
all
so
3
supported.
teams never win.
And then Jason did a final thought about, hey, all 3 teams are in great shape right now.
That was
And
inspiring.
It was inspiring, and it got me thinking. Have all 3 teams ever made the playoffs in the same year?
Right.
So I went to my crack research staff, which is me, trying not to make mistakes since I made 3 the last 2 days.
Which is
But
Google.
At least off the air, I have time to do it a little more, spend a little more time. And I found that no, the Browns, Cavs, and it's a little tricky with the Cavs because you got to decide which year you're going with. For this exercise, although it didn't really matter, I went with the year the basketball season ended and year football started.
Okay.
So the 3 teams have never gone to the playoffs in the same year.
Crazy.
The only time it would have happened was 1994. The Cavs made it, the Browns made it, but of course the Indians at the time would have made it, but there was a strike,
Yeah.
and they didn't go. Now, we don't know for sure they would have made it, but they probably would have. That was really the start of them being great.
It was.
It was really 94, but the
Next
season
year they made it
ended
to the World Series.
Right, the season ended, and we'll never know what would have happened. But I think weren't they 20 games over 500?
They were in great position.
Yeah.
And I think the Reds were also having a great year.
Yes.
And I was excited because at the time I was working in Columbus, and I thought we could have an
And the
I-71
Expos.
World Series.
Right.
Well, I was thinking Cincinnati and Cleveland. They were having great seasons.
That's true. The Expos, I think, were really good that year too, and
They
then
were
they
phenomenal that year.
Right,
Yeah,
they
they
were great.
were.
They had all those good players. They ended up trading away. But anyway, so that's
Some
the
of
only
them
time.
us.
There's only been that was 94 is one of only 3 years where all 3 teams have been over 500. That's it. 2007, and then I think the third one was 76. One year in the 70s. I can't remember the exact year. That's it.
I don't
You know the
know.
Indians were terrible for the 70s and 80s.
I was thinking when I made that comment,
Yeah.
I'm like, I've never seen all 3 teams be hot.
Right.
But you know what?
They
That's
had
not
to make
uncommon.
a decision.
That's not uncommon. If you go to the cities that have 3, I forget the
It
4.
probably is not uncommon.
It's not uncommon.
I mean, but there are some cities like Boston's probably had it happen.
Well, but you know
Yeah.
what? Even when Boston was having a great run with baseball
Right.
and with football, now they have 4, so it's
Yeah.
a little different. But
Yeah.
you had years where the Celtics were down, which. And when I say down by their standards,
Right.
they weren't in championship
You may be
contention.
right that it's other teams, but I think in particular the fact that it's only been 3 years that they've all been over 500.
Yeah, now that's
is pretty crazy.
It's sad.
And only once since '94 have all 3 teams been over 500. That was 2007.
I think if you injected them all with truth serum, I don't think they'd want to be good at the same time.
Oh,
Because
yeah, absolutely.
Kind of to your point.
Well, I don't think the Browns care, but the other
the Browns
two
don't
teams,
care,
yeah.
but
well, to our market size.
the Browns
Yes.
take up so much oxygen, it doesn't matter. They go, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But for the other two, I don't know if they want all 3 to be good
No,
at the
they
same-
don't.
at
Who?
the
The
same
teams
time.
themselves?
Yeah,
You're
I
saying,
think they want to stagger it because there's just not enough economic dollars to go around.
They're
to say,
not.
"We're all 3."
And well, that's why the Indians sold out 400 and
Because the
whatever
Browns
number of
weren't here.
games it was in a row
Yeah.
because the Browns were gone. And a lot of families, particularly in Cleveland, which, believe it or not, is top of the list when it comes to poverty in the United States. There are many families here that don't have disposable dollars to go to these games.
No, of course not.
And
And
it's
it's hard
But
to
we as
support it.
fans don't want them to not be good at the same
Yeah.
time.
No,
obviously.
hell no. I want them to win a championship every year, all 3 of them.
Bull, you know this. Even Ohio State. Ohio State is a brand everywhere.
Yeah.
But if you turn the radio on and you said, I want to start, you know this, I want to start with Buckeyes, they look at you like you crazy. Like, we're not about to start. Ohio State is a good story, but it's not a huge story in this market.
No.
It would be
Right.
interesting to see how many cities have, with three major sports franchises, have done that consistently and how often that's happened. If it's
Yeah.
a harder thing to do than we realize and we're just obviously more aware of
But
it.
we're going to put you in charge of that.
Yeah, I'm sure it happens.
I'll do
but
it. I'll do
I
it.
wonder how much that
Yeah, I'm
happens.
thinking about, but even like Chicago and New York, I'm sure it hasn't happened that
Well,
many
look at
times.
New
And they've
York.
got
You
two
can throw
teams
New
to-
York out of the mix right away with the Knicks, and the Rangers have had long stretches of being horrible.
Right.
So I don't know
The Jets
which 3
stink.
you pick.
Yeah.
If
What's
you
that?
just throw
And
the,
the Jets
NHL
stink.
out,
But
I
the-
like the
your
Jets.
ideas.
But with like Chicago, New York, you get 2 chances of a team
you
go
get 6
advancing
teams
too.
in some cities.
Right.
I would eliminate those
yeah,
teams with
but
more
the
and just look
reason
at
I
the 3.
ultimately brought it up is because I think now we might get all 3 teams in the playoffs. Now, technically, I didn't realize, I don't know if this is right or not. I wasn't sure if the Cavs getting into the play-in counted as being in the
No.
playoffs. Because
No.
like wild
wasn't
card
a
counts
playoff
in baseball,
game.
but it doesn't count in basketball. I
No,
wasn't
it
sure
does
about
not.
that, but I know
Yep.
it doesn't now. So the Cavs didn't technically make the playoffs. I don't think the Guardians are making the playoffs this year. They got a chance, but I think ultimately they'll
But I
fall
think by
short.
your standard-
But in the next couple of years, I think we'll see all 3 at the same
It's
time.
possible, and by your standard, you're
Yeah.
using the end of the NBA season
Right.
as the year.
Right.
So if the Browns and the Guardians make the playoffs this year, then
No, it's already the Cavs for 22.
That ship
so
has sailed.
22 is sailed.
You're right.
But I think 23, right? There's a good chance, like, because you assume Watson's going to play 17 games in 23. The Guardians will have another year of experience for these young guys. Hopefully, they'll raise the payroll a little bit.
Right.
And the Cavs, you'd think, would only get better.
so let's
And
circle
probably-
that as the year this finally happens.
And
I
next
think
year
so.
we'll have Luke Travers back from Australia,
Of course.
which
That's-
that'll turn the tide.
That's right.
Can't believe we sent him down. I thought he was here for good. What happened,
It's
my
really
boy?
disappointing.
It is.
They come and they go.
They got a heck of a
We
prize
need
there
it
in
to
Perth.
happen. Let's go.
They come and they go.
No, that's
All
good,
right,
that's good.
we're going to talk good bet, bad bet. Is that where you want to go?
No, we got one more thing before good bet, bad bet, and this was something we talked about real quick on the pre-show meeting, but adult autograph seekers.
Oh, yeah.
If you're over the age of 12 or 13 maybe, I think
I'm
it's a
sickened.
terrible,
I
terrible
tweeted about
look.
this. This guy
And
is
you
an
can take
idiot.
the tag board here, Steve. We
I
have
would
video.
go higher
This
than
came
12 or
from
13. I'd give you up to 18, 19, 20.
Look at this guy.
Yeah, this is
Why did you put my retweet on it where I cursed this guy out?
He might.
There's a reason why, Bull.
This turned my stomach.
I will
though.
say it's gross, but I will say this: he might be like slow.
But
You
look,
think-
he elbows a kid in the face.
I know because maybe he's
think
has
he's slow?
like maybe he might be
Hey.
having some problems. If not, there's absolutely no excuse for that.
I like where you're going with this. There's some people who. they're
Yeah,
not
I get it, but I'm not
ADHD.
giving him the pass because I don't know.
They
so.
present well. Yeah, let's assume the worst. I think you're probably right. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to create a parachute for this guy right here.
I'm trying to get a
If
lane.
not, he should start acting like that so
Yeah.
that people don't think that he's a jerk.
I mean, he's really reaching hard. I mean, I ain't never seen a grown man that stretch that much
No.
to see another grown man's hand.
And you know what's killed it for kids? Like, we were all kids that went to a ballpark with
Yeah.
a glove or a ball that wanted
Yep.
to get an autograph signed. Players now are more leery than ever before of signing autographs
Yeah.
because it's become a business.
Oh, for sure.
I saw a couple of years ago, it was at an Indians game, a couple of years ago, a grown man gave 3 baseballs to a young girl. and had her go to the front steps.
Yeah.
And these balls were signed. Boom, boom, boom.
That's smart.
She walked right back up to this grown man who took them and put them in a bag
And gave her
with
a cotton
other
candy.
memorabilia. And it's a business.
I respect that hustle.
Listen, I know
it was gross.
I love a good
Jay, I know it's
grift,
low
though.
that people do that, but in the end, it's not that big a deal. That player's making a ton of money.
But players
I
like
understand they-
doing it to make a kid's day.
Yes, you're right.
They hate doing it if they know in advance it's for profit.
And
that guy is doing it for profit. you can tell.
Agreed, but I'd rather them sign for a kid that ends up doing it for profit
I would too.
than ignore the kids.
I would too. The only reason I brought that story up is I said players know that that's going on too.
Yeah.
Players
And
hate
they-
when people make money off of
Absolutely,
them.
they
If
don't
they
want
don't
that.
get a cut, it drives them
And so
crazy.
when they see the guy that has all of the bags and everything,
Yeah.
and here's
All those
ignore
tools.
those guys
it
are
turns
losers.
them off.
Yeah.
but
Losers.
Now they've
So who's we all in the industry, kind of, some way, shape, or form. Is there any person that you would plea bargain down your moral compass and be like,
For an autograph?
Can I get this
No
autograph?
athlete.
Any athlete?
No athlete, no.
Not any of them.
When I shouldn't even
When I was a
admit
kid.
this. When I was 18 and just starting out, like I was working for a little daily rag newspaper, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came to town, and I got an autograph from him. That was the one and only time.
Yeah.
Nobody? You ain't bending? You ain't bending, dog?
I got to tell you, you learned right away that was just a line that wasn't to be
You
crossed.
just don't do that.
Yeah, it just.
I do.
And I'm pretty much old school with journalistic ethics.
Yeah.
I'm so much more interested in a picture than an autograph
Oh,
at
yeah,
this point.
pictures.
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 No, I've been in pictures with guys.
Yeah, pictures, sure.
definitely been in
Yeah.
pictures with
The
guys.
only time I ever asked a player for an autograph was at a charity softball game. Some of the former Indians players that were there, I was getting it for my son. I was getting a little
How
baseball
old was
sign.
you?
But I was schmoozing with these guys. Like Carlos Baerga gave me. But for myself, I would never ask a player for an autograph. Not that I know that I want one. The only two people I could ever think that I might ask for an autograph, and I probably wouldn't. It would be like Billy Joel and Howard Stern, but I wouldn't ask them for an autograph. But I want it.
I love those big too, though.
pictures. So pictures you wouldn't. And is it a faux pas to even have like? So you guys know these. You interview and talk to them. If you go in somebody's basement and got the pictures up, you're like. But then again, you should know him, right? Would you put a picture up, or you just leave that in the phone somewhere?
Yeah, no.
No.
Wouldn't hang it.
I got a picture of me and Shaq on my phone.
It's interesting.
But I'm talking about in the man cave.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that up in the man cave.
So I have photos that were given to me as gifts.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think now. Drake.
Not bad.
I'm hanging that.
I never have to interview him I'm not covering Drake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I'm hanging that, bro.
And there was another picture that was given to me of myself and Joe Montana at a Super Bowl. It was a beautiful shot, framed, and I'm like, I hate to not hang this. It was a gift. And there was a third picture that was a gift of me throwing a football to Chad Johnson. Mm-hmm. That was, again, framed and given to me as a gift.
I think that's fine.
Off the top of my head, those are the only three that I have.
I sit in a cubicle across from legend Leon Bibb.
Yeah.
Look,
he's got a great one in his desk.
I don't have mine up anymore, but I did as a joke because it seemed like kind of a jerk move. But for a while I did this. He has a photo of him interviewing Barack Obama. Just sitting
I'm
there.
taking that picture.
And then, so I had a picture right across from my cubicle. It was just me and Big Chuck from Big Chuck and Little John. I got my arm around him like this.
Oh, yeah.
That's my equivalent.
By the way, that reminds me of a story. One of my first few months in Cleveland, I got so many people angry at me because somebody brought up Big Chuck and Little John. I'm like, who the hell are those guys? People got so mad at me.
I kind of want to hit you. You know? I mean, really.
You gotta know the ghoul.
I was like here 2 months, and I'm like, I don't know who the hell those guys
Of
are.
course, why would you? It's a ridiculous thing that still exists, but I love it.
Deuces.
I met
have
Little
no
John
idea.
somewhere. We did some
I do have a
event
picture
together.
on my phone.
You have, and
me
Mikey,
and Little
you have no
John.
idea.
I've never heard of them.
No,
No,
of
I
course
have
you
no
Don't,
idea.
but don't ever disparage them.
Yeah.
I was in town covering. It was either the Cavs in the playoffs or the Indians in the playoffs. And I was staying at the Westin. I said I need a place to get my haircut. They said go across the street. I go in there, and Little John's in there. And I'm like, whoa, my head blew off, you know.
Sure.
And as we were introduced to one another, and he said, do you mind if we do a picture? And I said, no, not at all. And I wasn't sure what to do, but I did.
I know.
I did get down on one knee.
He's seen it all.
I know he has.
That
and
guy's
he was fine
so
with it.
chill.
But,
Picking him up.
So they
Yep.
took. Yeah, no. They used my phone to take the picture. So I do have that picture
That's
still
great.
on my phone. And I don't even know that he ever got it because I never got his contact information to send it
This
to
is
him.
an interesting little Cleveland sports nugget. He had a jewelry store downtown forever on Prospect called Rinaldi Jewelry. And when you go to Jacobs Field at the time, we'd walk past Rinaldi Jewelry, and sure enough, he's a little person, and you would just see his head behind the counter. And as a kid who grew up watching Big Chuck and Little John, I'm like, he is so famous. I see the top of his head on the way into every Indians game back in the day. You'd stop and
It's
look.
Cleveland royalty.
Yep.
Culture counts, right?
Yeah.
When you say Little John in Cleveland, they think one person. When you say Little John in
outside
me,
of Cleveland,
But think of how
I'm like Usher.
same
Where
Little John.
East Side?
Think of how insane that concept is to anyone outside of town. It makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it's this giant guy and a little person who still hosts horror movies.
That's what I think of.
Yeah.
What?
Good bet, bad bet?
Yeah, good bet, bad bet. And before we do that, we just got to remind you guys, tomorrow is the last day to enter the contest for the Guardians tickets.
get on.
Go
Get
to
in there.
WKYC.com/contest. Grand prize, a 4-pack of tickets to the Astros game, plus some swag and autographed memorabilia. We're also giving away 2 other 4-packs of tickets. Over 1,500 people have already entered, so if you haven't, get in on that. And we're going to announce the winner, I believe, next week. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's coming next week. WKYC.com/contest to enter. And now,
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. We're less than 700 subscribers away from 11,000. That's our goal for the end of the month. We want to get there before the end of the month. So help us get there. 11,000.
And I think Anthony told me this earlier because I don't know the YouTube space. I don't know. I know nothing about this. I won't pretend to. But I asked the other day, is 10,000 a great number? And I think Anthony told me this. It puts us in the top 20% of all YouTube pages.
Right.
Yeah.
There's
In
a
2 months.
gajillion
That's
YouTube
because
pages.
there's so much crap online.
Well,
frankly.
that's true.
The
Anybody
great
can
thing
start a channel.
The great thing about YouTube in the current world is that anybody can start a channel,
Yes.
and the bad thing is that anybody can start a channel. Those are the 2 problems. But
we're
it's still
proud
very
to be in the
impressive.
top we've been here for 51 shows.
Very impressive.
But we're in the top 20%, and we're aiming higher.
pretty cool.
Shout out
Right.
to Stat Boy. I appreciate that.
Yes, well done.
All right, let's see the standings yesterday. Big day. We have a new second place arrival. Jay
This
has
is crazy.
surpassed
I've been just taking these
G.
L's, bro.
Bush, and Bull went 3-0 yesterday.
Where is Mike's cat picture?
Yeah, it won't work. I know.
I
That's
went
my
3-0
fault.
again. I'm really starting to pull away here. I actually watched the last 2 minutes of that soccer match that we've
You
been.
texted that to us yesterday, and I thought, I need Bull to find a hobby. He's got to have a
2
hobby.
minutes.
I'm like, where does this
a long
guy
2
get the
minutes.
time? I'm like, bro, you watching this?
It was my computer time. I was doing all paying my bills and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, what's the score of this? Oh, it's tied 1-1 with 2 minutes left. Let me put it on.
Sure.
Said no one else on this panel ever.
0.
Said no one else on this planet ever. Well, this country ever.
Yeah, I got a kick out of that
Yeah.
when you texted
All right, so
that.
let's
I
get
just
to
said,
today's games.
He needs a hobby.
I do.
First one, Yankees, underdog, 1.5. Astros, game 1 of the doubleheader. Everyone say good bet.
No movement on the standings.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees
like
are the best
that.
team. I mean, the Astros are really good too. but
Astros are great.
If I get a run with the Yankees, I'm always going to take it.
You know, the Astros kind of beat up on the Yankees.
They did.
Javier
before the
Vasquez
break.
was the one who's pitching today in game 1, threw
Yeah.
the no-hitter against them earlier this year.
Yeah.
Who?
Christian Vasquez.
Yeah, Christian Vasquez.
Christian Javier. Christian
Javier.
So
I had the
Yeah,
right
you
names,
you
yeah.
mix the two
Javier
players.
Vasquez was a pitcher for the Yankees and White Sox back in the day.
Right.
And the Expos.
And that's, I think,
Got my names mixed up.
That's what he
I
was
knew what I was
thinking
talking
of.
about.
I think these are two of the best in
They're probably the
American
two best
League
teams
right
in
now.
baseball.
So
right
that
now,
cheating
yeah.
thing really didn't count. It
No,
was just actually good.
Apparently not.
Well,
worked
they
out for 'em.
cheated, and then they got better again.
You know what it does? They were good without it. They didn't.
And I'm
that's
sure
why
other
it's
teams
such a
are
shame
cheating.
they did it. They were.
Other teams.
Yeah. a lot
All
of
right,
teams
next
were.
game. Dodgers, 1.5-run favorites over the Giants. G. Bush, you're the lone good better.
Lone dissenter here.
I
You
need
and
to
again
catch up.
locked in.
Need to catch up.
Dodgers, it's the first, you expect your best pitcher to go first game after the break. Dodgers are actually going with their 5th starter, Mitch White.
Is that? Yeah, that's. You do if you have the luxury of setting up your rotation that
Yeah,
way,
right.
You can do that.
I mean,
Kershaw pitched in the
Kershaw
All-Star
did pitch
game.
in the
Well,
All-Star
so did
game,
Tony Gonsolin.
But I don't even know that Kershaw's the
Gonsolin
Dodgers'
pitched
best
too,
pitcher.
and their other, I guess they could have gone with Urias, but maybe he pitched Sunday. I don't know.
Okay, what's the third one?
Last one, over 7.5 runs in the Tigers-A's game. Jay, you're on the good
you're
side.
the-
of
Good.
history
That's where I'm going to
here.
pick up on. This one's definitely going over.
All right.
Yeah, no, I was listening to the Tigers Guardians game before the break. I think
Yeah.
it was Sunday when they put all the runs up.
Yeah.
And they left they had a young starter out there. They left him in there way past the time that he should have. But their pitching is absolutely atrocious. And
But their hitting's atrocious too.
Well, I'm banking on they're going to give up 7.5 runs.
That's possible.
I think,
but the
they're
A's
so bad.
I think the A's have the worst offense in baseball.
Boy, they're both.
They got a minor league team right now.
Can we talk about how many good bet, bad bets we cycled through today before we got to
I do want to apologize to you guys for that.
Jason, explain it.
Well, I woke up like 7:30, 7:45 or so, and he'd already sent out and I'm looking through. It's like, nope, not this one. Good bet, bad bet.
Mike didn't realize baseball
No, wait,
was
hang
back.
on. We're going to do this one. No, hang on. Sorry.
The
let's
first
do this one.
3 that he
they're
sent are the ones that I think my only reply
It was like
was
soccer and WNBA.
My reply was wow, because I looked at these games. And
one of them was like a lumberjack competition.
It was the European Women's Cup.
Yeah, it was women's European, like World Cup or World European Cup. I'm like,
That's where
Germany versus Austria, Netherlands versus France, under 2.5 goals, Sweden versus Belgium.
And at least you guys have heard of those countries.
that was the first one.
and I just replied, wow.
And then ignore that. Here's the real one: Germany, Austria, Atlanta Dream, LA Sparks, WNBA. He put WNBA in parentheses just to make sure we were clear. And then in a second WNBA, Fever Aces. Sorry again, this is the real one, I swear. Never been more excited for 3 Guardians bets than tomorrow.
Yeah.
That wasn't the end, though.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. Then he sent out the.
Oh,
real
yeah,
Then I
one.
sent
he
the
sent out
3
real
Yeah.
one.
It's just so hard because you just never know how if the Netherlands are going to show up or not. On any given night, you don't know who you're going to get.
You're funny.
What sport was that? Soccer?
Soccer.
Okay,
Women's
well, soccer.
Euro Cup.
Oh, I see.
Which most of us follow pretty consistently. but
obviously.
these matchups we just didn't know
Yep.
anything about.
Yeah, that was my bad. I'll take the L on that one.
It
I'll
was
take the
awesome.
L.
It was
All right,
great.
hard L.
we
We
final
wake up
takes
to.
time here.
It is.
All right.
Bull, you're up first.
Let me start off, guys. We just talked a little bit about the Guardians. The Guardians start I hate to say the second half because we're technically past the halfway point, but you get it. We got about 70 games left, roughly. The Guardians are not actually far out of the last wild card spot, but in reality, when you look at this, how good the American League East is, and you got the Astros and the Mariners playing great baseball, I think the Guardians' path to the playoffs, if there is one, is the division because nobody's very good in the American League Central. The White Sox are slightly above average, the Guardians are slightly above average, and so are the Twins.
White
There's no
Sox
very good team. So how do they get there? Well, they're going to set the tone right after the break. They have an 11-game road trip to start the second. Think about this. Their last home game was last Saturday because they got rained out Sunday and then the All-Star break. They don't play at home again until August 1st. Dang. That's trade deadline day, that afternoon. It's a Monday. They moved the deadline to August 1st this year because the 31st was on a Sunday. So the next 11 games are really going to go into a long way into whether or not the Guardians go all in on trying to win this year. And what do they have to do on these 11 road games? Play the White Sox for 4, the Red Sox for 4, and the Rays for 3. That is a very, very tough road trip. Now, I'm a little nervous about it. I don't have a great feeling they're going to win that many games, but I very hope that I am wrong because they need to play strong in these 11 games to get the owner to move on the budget a little bit and the front office then to do their job, which they usually do well when given the opportunity with the budget, to go out and get some reinforcements. This team badly needs a couple of bats and another pitcher, even another guy in the bullpen mix. But the only way that's going to happen is if the team plays great on this very tough 11-game road trip.
I have a quick one for you guys. This one's pretty painful. I was up late last night thinking about it, and pretty sure we shouldn't have traded Baker Mayfield.
Wow.
Listen, not as a long-term solution, you guys. I know. But we're talking about quarterbacks. We're like, oh, they're trying out Josh Rosen. Look where we're at, you guys. And what are we trying to do right now? We're trying to get a quarterback. That's our weakest position right now, as far as I'm concerned, is that quarterback room, only because of the uncertainty and because our backup behind our current starting quarterback, which would be Jacoby Brissett, is literally wants to be an astronaut. That's not ideal. He's thrown 14 passes in his entire NFL career, and that's just not a very comforting thing. Knowing that if Brissett goes down, we're in a real bad spot. Now, so what are we doing? We're bargain basement shopping right now and trying to find somebody. We're just like, I don't know, is Fitzpatrick, is he still playing or is he an analyst now? That's literally where we're at. We had somebody on payroll that we are still paying for who has been competent in the past, has healed up, and we have this team that is ready to go. That's the only thing. This isn't because I love Baker. It's not because I think that he's a better quarterback. It's not because I think that he might win the job or be here next year. I'm talking about this year, right now, when this team is ready to go, and we are uncertain at this point, leading very close to training camp, as far as not only who our starting quarterback is going to be, but who's going to be backing this person up. And I would feel a little more comfortable if we had a quarterback on our roster who is already paid for, and we are paying for him, who has some experience. And I know all the stuff about Baker and about we got to get him out the headache out of the locker room. I guess I'm just at a point where I'm like, guys, grow up. We have this great opportunity here, and I hope that we're not blowing it because we just unloaded a headache that maybe we shouldn't have. That's all. You guys can all yell at me later. I intentionally put this right here so that you guys couldn't yell at me right now.
No,
Go
listen,
ahead.
I've been saying that for 3 months, and they've been yelling at me the whole time, so now I can deflect some of the
yelling to you.
All right, we'll finish that later.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to piggyback off of Bowles. I was thinking about this earlier. And I think last week when I was in, I sort of dismissed the Juan Soto thing, and I think you guys probably discussed it last week. But I got to tell you, I've started to come around a little bit. It's not an ideal circumstance, and Zach Meisel, I thought, wrote a terrific story. I didn't even know it was coming because I wanted to have this conversation with him, and he wrote exactly what I was thinking. If this was next year, I think it would be the perfect opportunity to go all in on Juan Soto. I'm not ready to say that, but I think it's a discussion worth having. Because of everything that we've talked about, because of the roster imbalance of 40-man, they need to make a move like this. It's just, I feel like it's a year too early. And the other problem with that, he's got 2.5 years of control, and you're not going to let him walk for nothing. They never do that. You always protect the asset. They would trade him with a year left. So basically, you get 2 postseason runs with him this year and next year, and then you'd have to trade him after next year. You'd probably also hold on to Shane Bieber, whereas I thought they would trade him this winter. If you do the Soto move, you probably hold on to Bieber, and you trade him with a year out. So you really got a 1.5-year window here, and then you would sort of trade him again and reload for more prospects. That would hopefully be, it would help rebalance and reset where you're at with the farm system right now because they're so overloaded and they had so many guys they would have to protect on the 40. Hopefully with the Bieber and Soto eventual trades, they would be guys that would not be on the 40. So it would help rebalance that a little bit. It's obviously the most glaring need on this team is outfield bats. They've got some guys that they like a little bit that, Kwan has shown some flashes. Oscar Gonzalez has shown some flashes. Nolan Jones has looked good. Juan Soto obviously is a huge upgrade over what they have. They have the ammo to make this trade, and I was a little bit concerned with the arbitration price. Could they pay the arbitration money that Soto would command in over the winter? I think they probably could. They were pursuing Matt Olson knowing that he was going to have a big number. They gave a lot of that money to Jose in his sort of restructure, but I still think there's probably room to add Soto. It then becomes a matter of, okay, well then where else do we, because obviously that's an all-in move, so what else do you need after that? And is it worth sort of really unpeeling your farm system for the move that would have to come after, for the 1 or 2 moves that would have to come after to push all in? To Bull's point, the division is there for the taking. They could really make a run with someone like that, with an impact bat like that, and maybe one more move. I just would feel so much better if we were a year ahead. If this was next year and then Soto had 2.5 years left, I would be pounding the table. This is the move to make go all in. It makes me a little bit nervous about this year, but I absolutely think it's a conversation worth having.
Solid.
Very solid.
You forgot Anthony Munoz, by the way?
Good point.
Still on that, huh?
And how did I forget about Anthony Munoz?
forgot about that top 5 list 10 seconds after it was
G.
done.
Bush, we're on final takes. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. One of the takes that I get from Aditi is, as a fan, at some point in time, we got to ask ourselves, when are the Cleveland Browns going to make that step? And the step doesn't really necessarily come on the field between the lines. The step comes and you're making your mind up before you hit the season that we're not playing no more games. At some point in time, you got to stop being stepchildren to the rest of these people in this division. This is the reason, and I'll give them credit. I'll give Haslam's the credit because they took a lot of heat. They took a lot of picks. They gave them away, and they said, listen, we're going to need y'all to come out here, and we're going to go get a franchise quarterback because we didn't think we could compete with the one we had. I'll give them credit. They did what they needed to do, and they took that heat, and now they somewhere in Europe hanging out. They don't want no smoke. But here's the point. The guys that's left in this locker room, I see a lot of guys getting paid like top-notch ball players. Myles Garrett just got the bag. Denzel Ward got the bag. John Johnson got one of the biggest contracts. You got 2 guards, I'll give it, Mike Polk Jr. and Jason, 2 guards. You getting guards. Guards never got money before. So while your quarterback is out, I need y'all to do something. I need you to be dominant. I need Jadeveon Clowney to get over 10 sacks this year. I need Myles Garrett to have that 20-sack season. And we might need Kareem Hunt to have almost 1,000 yards and Nick Chubb getting 1,200, 1,300 yards. The pieces and parts is here. It's the mentality that we got to get to. Until we make up our mind that we're not about to lose to the Ravens and the old Browns and the Bengals and the Steelers every single year, we got to make it up in our minds that we're going to go out there and we're going to play nasty, we're going to play tough, we're going to play physical every single game, because that's what it's going to take to get to the playoffs this year.
That's long overdue. Do you want me to go back to yesterday's final take? Do you still have those clips, or did you not carry those over? I
did not carry those over.
All right, that's okay. I got to stand by. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday. I first saw it yesterday, or this morning, the follow-up tweet. A woman named Jennifer Simpson sent out a tweet that basically said she was selling a couple of items. One of them was a J.J. Watt jersey. One of them was a pair of shoes. And at the bottom of her tweet, she said she was selling these items because she was trying to raise money to pay for her grandfather's funeral. And I actually saw the story that was written about this. J.J. Watt saw the tweet and tweeted back, "Don't sell your items. We'll help with the funeral." And that's not a one-off for J.J. Watt. That's who he is. He is that dude, and he has done a lot of this kind of stuff, as I'm sure most sports fans are well aware of. But we talked earlier about players and wanting to deal with fans when it comes to autographs. These are the kinds of stories that I most love in sports, because these guys hear a lot of criticism, a lot of people yelling at them. You suck, you're terrible, you're this, you're that. And sometimes you can understand why they tune all fans out because of it. Well, J.J. Watt and a small gesture of paying for a woman's grandfather's funeral kind of sets the bar for all other athletes to be kind. Be kind where you can. And if you're blessed enough to have resources and you can share them, you have an obligation to do that. Hats off to J.J. Watt.
Indeed.
Big
Salute.
move.
Yep. Salute.
Big move. McNuggets, you want to tease what's coming up tomorrow?
We got a DeQuell turn. We're going to do some head coaching power rankings, see where Kevin Stefanski ranks. How would you rate his hot seatness? And I got a fun Guardians game for you guys that I'm still workshopping the name, but we'll play it tomorrow.
Love a
Very
Guardians
good.
game.
Okay, we're on 22-hour break in 15 seconds or so. Thanks for watching today. We're back tomorrow. We'll close out the week with another excellent show. Thanks for watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. See you tomorrow.
Hey.
Peace.